Hello there. Um, hello. I've decided to do another live stream on the upon the um the sorry, I've gone a bit blank. The suggestion of Matt Taylor. If you, well, I hope he doesn't mind me. Hope he doesn't mind me saying his name. This is Matt Taylor, who's just been trying to talk me out of suicide. This is someone who, forgive me for saying your name if you don't want me to say it. You know, I don't want to say the wrong thing. This is someone who exposed Katie Bourne. Well, that's no secret, so I'm not saying anything I shouldn't say. An ex-naval whistleblower, ex-naval police officer whistleblower. So thank you very much for that, because I was thinking of doing this anyway. What I have to say might seem like nothing at all to other people. For me, if you'll excuse my French, it's a bloody miracle that I'm still here, in my humble opinion. I just need to get this off my chest. It would make me feel better. Basically, today has just wiped me out. I've done absolutely excuse my French, sweet bugger all. Although I've done a lot in just being on the phone again, endless hours, sucking the life out of me, absolutely dealing with the most obnoxious, and I mean obnoxious, call handlers. So, by the way, for any of you trolls out there, Eastbourne Borough Council, the Herald, places where I've had my face in, you know, and my name. For all you government agents out there, whoever it was who put a smiley emoji against my Facebook post saying I've got crippling OCD, which is also making me feel suicidal because of what I've been put through in this place. Because I clicked on the fake profile on Facebook with the smiling emoji, the evil smiling, and it couldn't be seen by other people, only me, and the profile disappeared. So it was just like a little dig. If you're watching, whoever you are, if you're someone that's been pretending to be a friend of mine, whoever you are, whether you know me or not, you are a very, very sad individual to go out of your way just to do that. So as I said, whether you're a complete stranger or whether you know me, that's your funeral, not mine. Because I tell you what, the more I think about death and the more I think about suicide, the less I'm scared of it, to be perfectly honest with you. And I'll tell you why. Because I know that I have lived my life as a brutally honest person. Brutally. I've had a very, very, very interesting life. Okay, this is not a life right now. This is an existence. This is what people who are heavily targeted individuals, people who are MK Ultra survivors, and it's been suggested that I could possibly be an MK Ultra survivor. Looking at comparing myself to other people. Well, I don't need to compare myself. I only need to it is what it is. It's like what does satanic mean? Well, what does trafficked mean? What does targeted individual mean? It is what it is. Your reality, uh, it is what it is. It's not a perception. It is what it is. If that's what you feel it is, that's what you're experiencing. That's what I'm experiencing. So even if I haven't got an audience, even if I had nobody watching, I couldn't care less because I talk to myself like this all the time. But it's a good thing that there are people watching. And thank you, Matt, because I was thinking of doing this anyway. Today, a typical typical day in the life of Bryony McCarthy. As I said, it's an existence. Um, you know what? I would love to make a comedy like Ricky Gervais, Eat Your Heart Out. I could make a black comedy, a very black comedy, but that's not going to happen. So I'm literally trying to stop myself from walking out of the door and going and buying alcohol again. I don't drink, but I have been when things get so bad, I think about buying a load of alcohol and, you know, uh, uh, yeah, but, you know, I'm carrying a lot of pain and I'm washing my dirty laundry in public. Uh, so 34 minutes. 34 minutes before this team leader, this team leader supervisor at Eastbourne Borough Council, 34 minutes before he gave me this woman's name, the call handler. She doesn't have to give you her name. And he was counting. I said, thank you. Because what they do is they like to do this reverse psychology. For those of you who haven't heard of the Tavistock Institute of Human Relations, look it up. Deep State Britain. That's where some of our social workers and police officers get their training. It's marvellous once you know these things. I could laugh about it because they're doing it to PISS me off. It's the number in that very long email that I sent to Sergeant Simmons, PC Henry, the PCSOs, Sussex Police, the people that you complained to, my housing officer, the local MP. In that email, I said, I'm getting a little bit too fed up with hearing people use the phrase "we're going round in circles," and if I had a magic wand. They like to use people who are victims of MK Ultra and mind control. Well, I don't know if that's what I am, but I know I'm a targeted individual. And when you hear the phrase going round in circles, like so many times, the police loved it. Sussex police love to use the phrase going round in circles. It's something that they are doing deliberately. It's a phrase that they're deliberately using to cause me distress and to actually make me feel like I'm going round in circles. So what I'll sometimes do is you have to breathe because I mean, any of those three, 90, apparently 95% of the British police are Freemasons, and they like to use that phrase. So what I like to do is, oh, here we go again. Here's the phrase, because I know when they're going to say it before they actually say it. Oh, we're going round in circles. Oh. No, I'm the one going round in circles because they don't. They're trained. MK Ultra is made up of handlers and programmers, and a lot of victims who are under this this trafficking system where we've got people seeking asylum and they're in these safe houses. That's a form of trafficking, and I believe that what I've been put through is a form of trafficking because when I moved to Eastbourne, I was under adult social care. Of course, they've got no record of this now, despite the fact that I signed my mother's death certificate at the town hall. And of course, they've got to wipe all that evidence off because it's going to look very bad for them if I signed a homeless application form 6 days before my mother died of cancer. They hate it when I keep saying this. This is why my housing officer, Robert, you don't want me to use your surname, do you, Robert? Well, maybe I should let the cat out the bag. Shall I? Shall I use his surname? Because he's actually shown me his true colours. He cried for me at the council. And today, I already knew that he was. They all get. It's like a disease. They you give them a chance, and you already know. Well, because of what they put me through, how they orchestrated it, so that on the 26th of October, that I had through the local government ombudsman, I had a reference. I was waiting for the council to get back to me because I was making complaints about my TA, my temporary accommodation, and they didn't, and they had no recollection of a reference. I complained to East Sussex County Council about the fact that my social worker wasn't doing anything. They do absolutely nothing. I run around like a headless chicken, and people are going, "Oh, look, she's crazy. Look at the crazy lady. It's Bryony. She's going crazy." Because I'm running around doing their jobs. I've been complaining about not getting a social worker. There we go. I'm on severe disability because of OCD and hoarding and clutter, and they just send me. I fight and fight and fight just to get a load of paperwork in the post. Freedom of information. And part of the head effing was a safeguarding that someone from the TA team, shall I say her name? Yeah, I'll say her name. Sally Fisher signed this form to say, this safeguarding form saying, taking the safeguarding off my relationship with my partner. Like, what did that have to do with the price of, when I was at the time terrified for my life, then when this woman had attacked me while I was in the bath, and she's a friend of these idiots here, by the way, and if they can hear it, let them hear it, because they stand outside my door and they listen in on my conversations. It's going live. Yeah, but I'm not talking about the children's program. It's going live in here. It's going live, Roxanne. So if you want to keep standing outside my door 2:00 in the morning, 2:00 in the morning, in the early hours of yesterday, this early morning, she comes in. They slam the door. Oh, F it. Oh, Bryony. No, no, no. Oh, God. And I'm plugged in to rain, struggling to sleep, anxiety, plugged into this thing. I had a bad night. So excuse me if I'm jumping all over the place. I've got to get this off my chest. Because I'll tell you what, I'm really starting to lose my temper. And of course this is what they want. This live stream is an update of yesterday's live stream. It's the second one I've ever done. I've never done this before. That letter that I received, that fraudulent letter, you know, saying that I was verbally abusive, physically threatening to staff and all that rubbish. Final warning. Well, let me get to that. So this fraudulent letter. So I'm the one who's been escalating all these complaints since I moved in here in November. That's why I was losing my temper. I was speaking to my partner on the phone a little while ago. And so basically it's absolutely draining. I hardly see any daylight. I'm filthy dirty. I've got filthy dirty clothes on. I keep re-washing things. There are different types of OCD. I've got the re-washing, washing, and also I've got the hoarding and the clutter. They're both two different types. But these are mental health problems that I never had when I lived at home with my late mother. It's something that I've hidden because, as you know, hoarding is a massive problem. It's one of those taboos in this country, particularly in this country, that a lot of people have it. Well, people have it everywhere in the world. In America, it's on a bigger scale because they have bigger houses. So there's more to be swimming in, you know. But there are people that get the help, and Eastbourne Borough Council do help them because I know, because I've seen for myself. I have literally begged and begged and begged. I could have begged on my hands and knees at St Mary's House in Eastbourne. When I first moved to Eastbourne, when I was first trafficked, I was initially in the 16 to 25-year-olds foyer in New Haven, being told I'd get my own flat. Oh, you lucky girl. I was in my 20s, my early 20s, but I'd never lived on my own before. And because I come from a middle class background. Oh, she's got a silver spoon in the mouth and all that BS. No, I've got a working class father. So what? Who cares? Who cares about my background? I've had it all. You go around looking like $1 million. You might want to check you haven't inherited your mother's cancer, was what the social worker landlord said. What the FUCK were you doing up on Beachy Head drunk, said his brother, the support worker. Knowing that I don't drink, that's supported accommodation for you. It's obviously it's worse than ever before. I can't even begin to imagine. But I had no idea. That social worker landlord is no different to this landlord or the landlady at Cavendish Place. No different. They are exploiting people with mental health problems. But if you have a probation officer, or you've committed a crime, or like the ex-criminal at the Saffron, the famous Saffron, if you've got enough money to buy a flashy car for a doctor to get you a diagnosis that will get you out of trouble, that is the kind of person that I met at the Saffron. Yeah, I've met a lot of very interesting people. And what people are cottoning on to is that supported accommodation, temporary accommodation, the psychiatric unit, all these places are the same. I know because I cottoned onto it too through experience. These psychiatric units are being used as detention centres, prisons. Right now, as as I speak now, John Alexander Patterson, who I met in the psychiatric unit, is incarcerated on a mental health fraud in Chichester. I've got 12 stamps to send to him. I'm still living in the 90s when a first class stamp was 33 pence. It's a tenner for 12 stamps. I want to make sure he gets them. But I've been struggling so much with my own mental health. Just this is what makes my blood boil. Whilst this lot have been harassing me and taking drugs, bullying me, they exploited my good nature. They break the rules, they behave like little children. The worst perpetrators, the worst perps, the most infantile people are the landlord and the contractor. They don't like me because I'm telling the truth. Like when the social worker landlord said, "You know too much." I was in my 20s. I didn't know. Now I know. Now I know. Breach of licensing agreement. I was complaining about harassment in supported accommodation. As an old man, and he thought he owned the communal area. And the housing officer who came to my late mother's house, my late mother would be 83 now, and he said, "What would happen to Bryony if she lived on her own?" She said, "I think she'd just slump into a corner and give up." This is how badly I have been discriminated. A quarter of a century since school, I've been begging for help with my mental health. They're not going to help me. No, and I'll tell you why. Because I think I've already read this. Brave Bryony battles on. I've got another, I've already showed this in one of my videos. I've got a front page headline from when my mother got me a front page headline in the Seaford Gazette saying school bullies nearly drove me to suicide. The Herald, the Eastbourne Herald, won't let me comment on what the police did to me when I had my face in the paper as missing, yes, and reported missing on the local radio in June of 2018, when another patient at the psychiatric unit discharged himself and jumped off Beachy Head. The famous suicide spot that I am right this very second trying not to jump off right now. Yeah. They wouldn't let me tell the truth about what they did to me when PC Curtis and PC Arthur Davini dragged me backwards. But it's like this. Through Hyde Gardens, past the very solicitors, I might add, that's failed John Patterson, Stephen Rimmer, the Freemason, yes, that solicitors. I was dragged out of the tourist information desk back to Eastbourne Psychiatric Unit. Year later, I meet John Patterson in there. This is the same messing around with my mental health that I get to this day, which is why I don't bother trying to get the help. I wrote this note when I was in either my late teens or early 20s. I can't remember. It was one of my many love notes from my mother. I am 38. I'm going to be 39 in March. Dear Mum, excuse my bad grammar. You know I do love you. All I search for in a person is positivity to boost me. If that could happen, I know I could do anything and help you. I can't tell you how sorry I am about everything. I carried the weight of the world on my shoulders. I need to push myself over the border as Dr. Price, this is a child psychologist, that I'd seen when I was 14. Tried to say, after telling about Tuesday's event, he tried to refer me to the day hospital. He said that there had been a delay because the Dr. Rogers in New Haven and it should be Seaford or something. If I hear anything, then I need to call him or his secretary. So, whatever that is about. There is a query though. The hospital say I went there for physiotherapy. Question mark, exclamation mark. I didn't know, did I? Anyway, thanks for the supporting letters. I want to show you a job vacancy. So there's the kind of messing around that the mental health services have done to this day. Now, I've had breach of licensee agreements, harassment in all these places. I've been assaulted by a patient. And by the way, this article of me in 2004, it was either 2003 or 2004, Brave Bryony Battles On, saying that I suffer with depression. I was doing NVQ level 3 working in a residential home. Yeah, and I was bullied so badly by an elderly matron, an Irish matron, it made me physically sick. Same thing happens here. I'm vomiting in the toilet from the stress. I've been bullied and assaulted by both patients and staff on the Amberley ward, Eastbourne Psychiatric Unit. I was forcibly injected by Shani from the crisis team who, according to my partner, tore up his CAS card. CQC, yeah. Hangable offence. That is under Nuremberg trials, Shani. And all you psychopaths in there, I would rather be dying of my mother's cancer. I got so upset a little while ago. I went outside and I said to my partner on the phone, I said, I have told the nurses who nursed my late mother that I wish I was dying of my mother's cancer. Terrible thing to say? True, though. I speak my truth, even if my voice shakes. And these people are making me feel this way. And I will explain why, because this is all ongoing. So it's not nice living in a place where you've had these horrible things happen, and your mental health is already deteriorating. And you're not being affirmed by the authorities. So I'm just going to bring up an email from my housing officer. I don't know if you can still see me if I bring this up, but basically, what the email from Homes First, my housing officer, says in the letter, he is offering me a final. I'm actually too tired to even get the words out, but basically, he has given me a final offer. A final offer. You couldn't make this up. A final private rented, a final in the private sector, a final offer of a private rented sector offer. He's also saying that he wrote to me recently. Where is it? Yeah. We wrote to you recently to let you know that your tenancy, your housing duty is coming to an end. That this duty is coming to an end. I didn't receive a letter. Uh, I haven't received a letter. I actually rang 101 just in case, because tenants here have been stealing from me, not just food and petty theft. I had text messages saying, well, I've recorded the woman above me who attacked me. I've recorded her this demented tenant who took advantage of my good nature, just like the other one. They feed off each other's lies and make up stories because they've got nothing better to do. They lie, they steal, they attack people, take drugs, you name it. She had befriended me, making out that she too was complaining and didn't feel safe here. And the whole time they were making up stories about me to the landlord and the contractor. That's how dangerous and demented these people are. So this woman above me in room 4 that I've recorded, Roxanne, I can play it to you if you like. Do you want to hear it? Because you know what? Whether I kill myself or not, you can hear it for yourself. Because I've just about had enough. I've been putting messages on Facebook, by the way. I haven't seen my father for 26 years. I paid £45 to the family tracing at the Salvation Army. By the way, the Salvation Army are steeped in satanic MK Ultra trafficking. I mean, £45 to find my father. They could have done a bit more than that. Sussex police just shoved a knife in when when I'd been reported missing, and they didn't say what they'd done to me. They contacted my father that I haven't seen since I was 12, and on Facebook he said, "Is this attention seeking?" Well, do let my father know, because we need to talk about the violence between my father and my mother, because he's ended up with 3 messed up children. My middle sister's living as a man. She's had a sex change to a man, which doesn't come across as the biggest surprise in the world, because she's always dressed like a man and been like a man. But I was told by a locum that I need trauma-based therapy, what the Vietnam War veterans were given. And I've got an eldest sister living in New Haven. I've got to be careful what I say, but if you're thinking of killing yourself, you know what I mean. So anyway, this is the kind of crap I'm expected. Excuse my French. Sorry, I don't usually swear, but I'm literally being pushed and pushed and pushed. And Matt Taylor, this ex-naval police officer who exposed Katie Bourne in the elections, has been texting me and saying, "Get your truth out there." Because honest to goodness, I've had enough. People need to, as David Icke said, get their heads out of the sand. He said exactly what I said. They need to stop being in their own little bubbles. I don't have a TV. Get rid of that bloody TV. Chuck it out, because all it's doing is feeding your brain with toxic poison, lies, deception. Get rid of it. Get on what's actually going on, because this is the real pandemic, all right? This is the real pandemic. I've never been so frightened in my life. The police are acting, they're corporate, Masonic. I don't feel safe ringing the police because of what they've done to me. The very police officer who assaulted me, I felt like I was practically beaten up on Beachy Head, the famous suicide spot. People jump off those cliffs every other day. It doesn't make the news anymore. It's a world famous suicide spot. It was knocked off the 2nd. On the 26th of October, I was sitting in that pub crying for my dead mother, angry that they had not answered my call in a hotel, the Citrus Hotel, that had failed me, turned me away. Adult social care sent me there from the DGH hospital. This is a hospital where my mother was dying of cancer. My mother died in the old hospice. And I was sent there and turned away. We don't accept people from adult social care. People were being sent there from Hastings and turned away, and the papers got involved with that. That is what one of the receptionists told me. But because I got a big mouth, because they didn't like it, and because I'd emailed the manageress, Rika, and I've left my review on TripAdvisor, I'll tell you that. I emailed, I'm saying too much. This is a woman who's in her own little fairy tale world, talking about her Angels Facebook page. She didn't like the fact she turned on me because I'd sent her a very polite email that I'd also copied into the local MP, Caroline Ansell, saying, could you just put in a word for me? I've spent £2,000 on this hotel to stay away from my temporary accommodation where I don't feel safe. This is the last TA that I was in before this place. It's got a terrible reputation for drugs. I heard stories about people self-injecting and defecating in the alleyway. It's not a whole lot better indoors, I can tell you that, because I took a photograph of a curtain that someone had used as toilet paper. They're doing the same things here as well. I've took photographs of how I cleaned the whole kitchen from top to bottom when this horrible tenant that I thought was going to kill me was evicted. I cleaned it from top to bottom, a brand new tea towel, and someone's used that as a toilet paper. I go into 2 nights ago. It was nice and quiet here. No one was here. And because I told her above me, this Roxanne, I'll play you the recording. Because I told her that this was a couple of 2 or 3 days ago, I'd reported petty theft and the one in room 3 attacking me in the street. So they decided, probably all said, let's make it all quiet here. So it all gone quiet. Guess what they did? I haven't washed for days on end because I haven't been feeling safe. I go up to the bathroom and they've locked it. What they've done is they've put something inside the key lock. So I've got to unpick it with my key. And I had a look at the toilet upstairs. And one of the toilet brushes that I've bought has got feces on the end of it. It looks like someone's shoved it up their bottom and stuck it in the... Now, PC Ian Williams and PC Anderson from Sussex Police were here the other day. They took my report of the woman in room 3 attacking me in the early hours after I received this fraudulent letter from Justin, the landlord, saying that I have been verbally threatening to staff and all that BS. My partner's got the dictaphone recording that he took where I was on the phone to him. He had the dictaphone and he recorded the conversation between me and the landlord and recording her in room 3, calling me an effing head case, which she's also done in front of paramedics, because every time I say I'm suicidal, they send paramedics out. It's like a black comedy. The number of times I've had ambulances come out to me, you wouldn't believe, at Elms Avenue. Nikki from the Assessment Treatment Service, you're being aggressive. You're being aggressive. I'm going to hang up on you. In one night at Elms Avenue, I spoke to 3 call handlers, a mental health nurse, a clinician, and a doctor. The mental health nurse started shouting at me, I've got to go home at 3 o'clock in the morning. You got to, oh no, it was 2 o'clock in the morning. I've got to go home at 2 o'clock in the morning. And this is how, honestly, you couldn't make it up. Breathe. She's telling me to breathe and she's getting angry at me. And I said, why are you getting angry at me? Calm down. It's like, you couldn't make it up. And I'm suicidal because I'm living with people that are used to it. Take drugs, they attack people. I'm so glad I'm not living in London. I've seen part of the documentary where these very rich landlords, they're making millions out of people's misery. They put mothers and babies and murderers and paedophiles, they shove them all in one place. People who claim they've got mental health problems, but they're just troublemakers. This woman that attacked me for no reason, she claims she got bipolar. I don't care what she's got. She thought it was funny that I was lying on the floor crying, on the floor here, and she's outside there, and she's going, and I've got my social worker here. You got to let me in there. She didn't have a social worker. She had a friend. They all know each other. They know the area. They prey on someone that they know that I admitted I've had a sheltered life. And why? And because I'm talking about meeting people who are victims of satanic ritual abuse. They want to make out, oh, she's a nutter. She's a this. Right. I'll tell you what. They set up the, what do you call it? The intercom. So the contractor, John, in this fraudulent letter, he fixed up an intercom, making out it was for my benefit. But this Roxanne above me, someone from the TA team said to me, you're not meant to have men staying there. They've got men coming in all the time. They've got strangers coming in here all the time. On the Thursday night that there were people coming in here, I had my back to them and one of them said grass. On the Friday, I rang the council to update them again. I've been escalating complaints. There's a wall that's been pulled down. I've already had my bedroom window smashed once, thank you very much. My next door neighbour said he had his dog poisoned and he's worried about his son. And he looks quite fragile, I have to say. While I was on the phone to the council saying that they're still coming in, they leave the back door open and everything. While I was on the phone, that's when this fraudulent letter was handed to me saying that I'm aggressive because I was basically getting very angry as you're seeing me now. And that makes me human. They're just as infantile and corrupt. And by the way, John and Justin, corrupt is not name calling. It is a noun. Sorry, no, it's an adjective, not a noun. They treated me calling them corrupt as name calling. You're calling me names. John and Justin don't like to be called corrupt because it's name calling. And yet while Darren had his dictaphone recording, she's in the background calling me an effing head case, which she's done in front of paramedics. And that is what is making me more suicidal. Welcome to the real pandemic, everybody. Trafficking under adult social care, exploitation under Eastbourne Borough Council and corrupt landlords. And this, I'm going to play it again for those of you who haven't heard of it. Hang on a minute. Wait a minute.
Tell me why you kicked my door.
This is Roxanne above me.
And why you verbally attacked me. Okay, I told you to be quiet, and I'm sorry, okay? I just would like to know why you kicked my door, why you verbally attacked me. Because I constantly stand up for you keep going on. I'm trying to help you at first. But I've been raped. I don't know what you're talking about. All the shit you keep going on about right now. I don't want to know your business. I understand. I'm trying to help you. Well, why did you kick my door? Why did you? Because I'm frustrated and stressed. So you kicked my door because you were frustrated and stressed? Yeah. So you were complaining to me in text. Yeah? So, and I heard you complaining to her about me. Because I want to know why you sent me threatening text messages and why you complained to the landlord and John talk about my dad and my family. Excuse me, I don't know your father.
I don't know them.
About my dad.
I don't know these people.
I cry about Daddy. I cried. I don't want to have anything to do with either of you. I just want to know. I'm downstairs. I do nothing. What about me? No, you've woken me up. You've disturbed me all day. So I wake all night. No, I don't. You keep me awake all night.
I had 3 sleepless nights complaining about this woman and her lies. They took advantage. She was screaming and shouting because of their lies. They'd make up stories. She came down and kicked my door.
Fair enough. Okay. Fair enough. And I'll apologise for saying I'll be quiet now. I want to know why you send me text messages. After this, why did you send me text messages supporting me throughout all the problems that I've had here, saying that you'd get your stepfather to take a photograph of my smashed window, and then you turned on me and you attacked me in my own home? And why did you send me threatening text messages? You've got nothing on your face. Keep smiling. Yes, I am going to keep smiling. And I'm going to keep smiling. You keep smiling. You're going to end up in hospital again. And I've got to next week. And I just worked with the council to get you put back in hospital because they've had enough of you. Right, I've got that recorded. Thank you very much, my dad. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you. So why did you kick my door? Can you give me a very good reason why you kicked my door while my partner is here? Because I'm angry and stressed, and I have no. That gives you a right to kick my door. Is it still going on? Are you going to stop? It's what time is it? It's 1:53 in the morning. You verbally attacked me. 1 o'clock in the morning. You messaged me last night when I was asleep. No, I did not. No, I did not. You didn't. No. I sent you a text message. No, two text messages. I sent you 2 text messages. One. I'm sorry. Be quiet. I sent you 2 text messages. I sent you 2. I sent you 2. Right, that's it. There you go. That's another breach of the peace. 2 text messages. I was vomited last night from all the stress that you. No, it's because of you.
I don't take medication.
You're a sociopath. I've got evidence now of what this is the second time. Well, there you are. I come up here to say that you're disturbing me and to ask you why you verbally and physically attacked me. That's what I've done, Roxanne. That's all I've done. You still can't give me a valid reason for attacking me. Last night I was physically sick, vomiting from the stress. So now I've got it recorded that Roxanne has tried to get Justin and the contractor to get the police to get me sectioned.
To get the council to get me
Even though I
sectioned.
am complaining constantly about everything, smoking illegal substances, having my items stolen, the landlord's had his plug stolen, and goodness knows what. So that's what happens when you're a targeted individual, but I've got it recorded.
So basically, she was saying that the John and Justin are going to get the council to get me sectioned, and people will say, "Oh, but they can't do that." No, we know that they can't, but that is what they do. I've been sectioned under previously, but on bogus accounts. This is what they're doing to people now. They're making people lose their homes to be sectioned. They're being used as detention centres, and this is what is fast. This is going on right now. Okay. And for me to stop myself, the number of times I have bought alcohol here, and I was going to get in a taxi and go up to Beachy Head and literally throw myself off. Literally. Well, it takes guts, obviously. And the thing about the magic wand thing that I was telling you about, the reverse psychology, I have actually had one of the Beachy Head chaplains, Mark, say, well, I was standing on the edge of Beachy Head, if I had a magic wand, and that made me jump up and down and say, no, don't say that. You know, because it's, I can't even trust the chaplains, you see. They've had a glossy picture of themselves with Katie Bourne. Katie Bourne, who Matt Taylor has tried to expose, along with John Patterson, for covering up what the police are doing, what Sussex police are doing to people like me. The very police officer that turned up when I was assaulted up on Beachy Head by that very dangerous thug, the very one that turned up was PC Austin. This is what they do. They deliberately bring out the one that they will assign the most dangerous one in charge on duty that they can think of. I know what Sergeant Simmons was up to. Do you think I'm stupid, Sergeant Simmons, at the custody centre? Do you think I'm stupid? Go to the patrol centre, because I had to walk out of here because PC Austin was being aggressive to me and my partner. Yeah, because I'm complaining about these people here. So I go to the custody centre. I'd much rather go to Hellfire, thanks very much. That's where you lot are going. And I go down there, and he's on the intercom, and he says, go to the patrol centre. And PC Stevens, I get into the grounds before the gate shuts, and I've suddenly got a load of verbal. They do that. There we go. It's like they're like robots. You know, they are like robots, aren't they? You know, as John Wedges said, you know, they've got their hands in here. They are like robots. Because what they do is they'll do this thing. They'll do exactly what this call handler did. I'll tell you in a minute. They do this thing where they'll say, you'll start speaking to them, and then they'll start to speak. Oh, you're not letting me speak. And they're interrupting you. And then when you go to speak, they'll say that you're doing exactly what they are doing, which is interrupting. So you'll start speaking, they'll speak over you. Then you'll say, hang on a minute, you've interrupted me. And then they'll say, no, you're not letting me speak. You're not listening. And then they'll go, you're interrupting me. It's a game they play. But they think they're so clever. They're not. They are so stupid. They are so thick. They are being programmed, to pick on someone that they know is suffering from trauma and stress, but who's got a voice on them. I've got a mouth on me. I'm telling it how it is, and they don't like that. And then when you start to explain the circumstances, they'll do all that BS. You know, they're like robots. And now they're robots with mouth masks on because they can't speak. So they look even more stupid with a mouth mask on. You're speaking over me. You're doing. You know. Sorry, I'm spitting on the screen again. But it's just, it is, you do just want to, you have to, like, it's like, you know what's coming before it comes. So this PC Stevens just couldn't wait to sort of, you know, and he's saying that, and when you explain the circumstances, we're going round in circles. And you can hear it before it's even being said. That's why you say, "Oh, here we go," because they want to do everything they can to shut you down and close all ranks. That's what they're doing. And then he said to me, "You're you're not meant to be on the grounds." And I said, "No, but Sergeant Simmons sent me here." Right. Well, if you don't leave, we're going to have to forcibly remove you. You so much as argue it out or speak back, they're going to be more aggressive. However wrong they are, that's what they're going to do. And even though I was moving off the grounds, his colleague still put his hand on my shoulder. That's battery under common law. There is so much that they're doing wrong, but operating under common law. PC Austin doesn't even know what common law is because they're all in the little boys club of Masonic corporate Satanists. I oh gosh, you should have seen the finger gestures that I was doing. I was doing this, and because they want to break a person, they are so the way my crime for being up on Beachy Head was being angry that they didn't answer my phone call. They didn't attend my phone call when I reported a threat in the hotel that I was in. The manageress had just decided she didn't want me there, even though I'd politely asked if she could intervene on my behalf, and I'd emailed her and the local MP. I'd been for hours on the phone to the local government ombudsman and the social worker who mysteriously left her job. That's what they did, the same fobbing off when I opened a discrimination case about my sectioning when I met John Alexander Patterson. And I've played that ward review recording in a previous video where you can hear the psychiatrist saying, "We'll be happy to help you," and then threatening me with forcible removal, even by the police, because I was dragged in there by Sussex police, bruised and dragged in, like just dragged in. And then 4 months later, despite the fact that Councillor Robin Maxted said they can't release you with nowhere to go, the manageress, who's no longer working on the Amberley psychic, she's left. Jackie Lake isn't there anymore. We can. Yes, we can. And I recorded her. We can. So despite Councillor Robin Maxted saying they can't release you with nowhere to go, we can. As useless as Councillor Alan Shuttleworth, Head of Housing, Cabinet for Community, I spoke out at an Eastbourne People's Assembly meeting, the anti-austerity BS. They all turned on me. Everyone in Eastbourne, all these Freemasons, they're turning on me because there's a stronghold for Freemasonry in this town. Stephen Rimmer, John Patterson's, he that's a solicitor firm he uses. He's a Freemason, so there's a conflict of interest. His lawyer got him sectioned. This is an ex-naval fraud investigator. What hope is there for anybody if a 70-year-old man, like this 75-year-old woman or 76-year-old woman, Sabine McNeil, who's in prison for exposing child abuse? What hope is there for any of us? If I can be attacked in my own home, the man who gave me the keys to this place, Steve, he doesn't turn up anymore. He told me he's walked in on dead bodies. one of the places I was in, there was blue tape, police tape, and they couldn't decide if it was a murder or a suicide. Elms Avenue that I came from, allegedly a girl took her own life, a teenage girl. I mean, I'm only saying what I've heard and been told. I've got no factual evidence. All I know is what I've experienced, and there's no 24-hour CCTV here. I'm just giving you, again, the same old rigmarole that I've been going through the whole time. But today was very, when you're already stressed and no one is saying, "Aye, that's wrong," or, Sergeant Savile, just literally, I've been nice to these people. I've been polite. You might as well just give me a piece of toilet paper to wipe someone's arse on. I'm trying to be really nice about all of this because these are the very people who have helped make me suicidal. And when I say that what Sussex police have done to me is worse than what the creep who attempted to rape me did to me, because I've never dug my nails into anyone prior to what they did to me up on Beachy Head, and I've been dragged around by the Sussex police enough. I would never, ever in a million years touch someone in a way that causes them pain. Not intentionally. I would never, ever do that. Never. But they were causing me so much pain. They were deliberately twisting the handcuffs. They were torturing me. They were physically torturing me. That's 25 years malfeasance of office for each of them. Not just them, but every other, any arrest in today's society now, any police arrest is considered a form of human trafficking. So all the messing around that I've had with Brighton Housing Trust and Dan Saxby and all this, we'll do the same, it's the same old BS, but a different person feeding it, if you know what I mean. So, you could get compensation for they're putting a lot of homeless people in police cells. You could get compensation for that. Do you know what? If I was to get compensation for everything that I've had happen to me, I'd probably be a rich woman. But I don't want them to get away with it, because this is to do with my civil rights. I want to know if there's anyone else out there who has had this done to them, because I'm not, in the same way that I'm not joking when I say I wish I was dying of my mother's cancer. I am not joking when I say that I'm being deadly serious. When I say I wish I had my mother's cancer and I was dying of it, I'm being deadly serious when I say that what the police did to me was worse than attempted rape, because they are the people who are there to protect us. They have physically and mentally scarred me when I'm already scarred. And today, all I did was ring Eastbourne Borough Council. They've given me the same fobbing off. There's one call handler, Emma, who has seen me in distress. And she said to me the other day, just ask for me, because she looked at the notes where I've escalated complaints here and had this fraudulent threatening letter. And she said, she's a very softly spoken woman. She said, Bryony, I've looked at the notes. I can see where people have made notes, but it gets to your housing officer and he's not doing anything. She said that she would ask his manageress, Katie Dawkins, making you all famous. You're going to have to, because I was told by a call handler yesterday she will contact you. My housing officer is Robert. You let me down at the last temporary accommodation very seriously. You said you didn't receive my email that Caroline Ansell MP said she did receive. You've done it again this time. You haven't received a very serious email, a long email that I copied into Sergeant Saville, PC Henry, and the PCSOs who witnessed bullying and intimidation in the property, where there's been criminal damage, where I've been attacked to the point that I thought a tenant was going to kill me, where the council also know that drugs have been dealt here. He again said he didn't receive my email, and yet I have received his email, which is where I'm feeding you the information right now. I've spelt his surname as he told me to spell it. And yet I haven't received his letter in the post. And he is discharging. This is a man who cried for me at the council. He had to pick up his children from school. I've just left a message for him saying, well, do you know what? I don't have any children, and I'm damn well glad that I haven't. But can you imagine? This is the world that you're bringing your children into. Next door neighbour has had his dog poisoned, and he's worried about the safety of his son. And he's a father who looks very fragile. And this housing officer, Robert, my housing officer, I thought he was a gentle person because he cried what looked like real tears for me at the council. I tell you, I am close to, I've nearly just about flipped out because I've just... yeah, anyway, I feel like I'm getting close to, excuse me. This team leader, right, so I rang Eastbourne Borough Council today. A woman answered the phone. She sounded polite to begin with. She took my name. She said, there's nothing on the system here about you. And I said, so I thought, just let her say whatever. Just let them say whatever. Be polite. I'm always polite, you know. And she said, how long have you been living in Eastbourne for? And I said, since 2006. I didn't say here. And she even went to look up my address. This is how pathetic it is. Customer First even sent me a letter a few weeks ago saying, we hear that you've moved out of the area. Could you just let us know? Does that make sense? I just moved in here and they were saying, we've heard you've moved out of the area. Just thought I'd add that one. Anyway, so she looks on the system and there's, I gave her my address, this address, room 2, and the road that I live in. No, there's nothing here. It's an HMO, temporary accommodation. No, there's nothing here. So I just thought, well, let her give it, you know, be polite, you know. She was being polite. But then she went to look at the email that my housing officer has only just sent me on the 28th of January. And this is where her whole tone changed towards me. Sorry, I haven't been looking at your comments, but I'm going to have I will look at them in a minute. I've just got to get this off my chest. Because obviously when you're feeling very suicidal, you got to let it out. It's got to go somewhere. So basically, she had a look and this is what it said. This is what it says. Yeah. So I won't go through the whole thing. It's got all the legal stuff, you know, about homeless duty and all of that. You know, we have a duty. But the point that I'm making is she didn't let me get as far as saying anything because I said I wanted to say I didn't receive the letter. It says that I received a letter from my housing officer and I didn't. And it says that they're offering me a final making me a final private rented sector offer. And the letter that he claims he sent me says that they're ending duty towards me, and that if I don't accept the what they're offering me, which is not a suitable property, not for a long-term tenancy, because it's just a bedsit. And we'd already gone through all of this at Eastbourne Borough Council. He'd gone through housing options with me. And I even said to him at the time at the council, I said, wow, it's nice to have a choice. House, wow, flat, tick, 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 tick all the things that you'll be interested in. I tick them all. At best, I'm looking for a 1-bedroom flat. And he knows that because of my severe disability, I need space in the first instance. Space. This is for a long-term tenancy. It's all right if they were passing me on to. This is just a form of trafficking. This is, I said, a bedsit is not, it's that wasn't the first thing I wanted to mention though. The main thing is I haven't received a letter from him, and the email starts off by saying we're offering you a final offer. There was never an initial offer, in the same way that there was never a warning before this so-called final warning from this nasty, evil. Do you know what? When I opened this letter, I already knew before I opened the letter that it was going to be something nasty and fraudulent, because that is exactly what happened at Cavendish Place. The property where I helped a Filipino couple, one of whom was on steroids because of bed bugs, in a dilapidated building. And by the way, the flat they're offering me is actually in Cavendish Place. Not that that matters, but this building was so dilapidated. I've said this in a previous video, I think. One time I put a bit of pressure on the kitchen tap. The tap flew off and it flooded the whole kitchen. And even the plumber said the washer on the tap had gone. That BASTARD housing officer, that fraud. Don't worry, Bryony, I've got you. Do you know what? I was at the urgent care lounge for 5 hours. This is the mental health. This is the psychiatric unit, the prison. This is the place where they have poisoned me, which is a hangable offence under Nuremberg trials, where I've been assaulted by and bullied by patients and staff, had my interim duty illegally discharged, people not turning up for appointments, including a housing officer, and adult social care, where police have dragged me down there. This is what the housing officer said. Don't worry, Bryony, I've got you on the phone now. We're going to get you some social housing in that. I said, but the kitchen tap is flooding the kitchen. You don't worry. I said, this woman at the urgent care lounge at the psychiatric unit, she was laughing. I was there for 5 hours in a suicidal state. PCE Williams and PC Anderson took me down there, and this woman's on the phone, and I'm like, and this housing officer, John, I'm going to say his name, John Tutty, because he now works in Sainsbury's. Actually, I'm going to say, do you know what? Sod it, excuse my French, sorry. I'm going to say the name of my current housing officer, Robert Haig. You can laugh if you like. You can react however you like. I don't care. Do you know what? I'm done. I am done with protecting people when no one is protecting me. I'm getting this because I've been thinking about jumping off Beachy Head, and I'm not gonna kill myself. I'm gonna get this off my chest. So John Tutty's on the phone, and this is what this nurse was laughing about because I did an impression. I said he might as well have said, "Don't worry, Bryony, I've got you on the phone now, and I'm going to type up a fraudulent Section 184 saying that you broke all the utilities at Cavendish Place." And I'm also going to make sure that the locks are changed so that you go up to Beachy Head in a suicidal state, where you will later be handcuffed and put on a Section 2, because that is exactly what happened. And the reason why I was forcibly injected was because in February of 2018, they wouldn't give me my phone to call the police to get my possessions back from that crooked landlady. So I had a fraudulent Section 184, and to this day, I am paying storage for not just my possessions, but a whole load of other people's clutter that she threw in with my possessions. They are with Mark Ratcliffe, who has now moved his storage unit from Eastbourne to Hailsham, so I can't actually get access to them. I found an incontinence pad. I found a hospital towel, one of those great big incontinent pads, the ones that you put on elderly people. They're the ones that I used to put on elderly people when I did nursing. Shoved in with all this other crap. Sorry, I'm getting really angry right now. But I have literally tonight left a voice message for Robert Haig, my housing officer, saying, if I jump off Beachy Head tomorrow, because I'm seriously thinking of getting in a taxi with a load of alcohol and literally jumping to my death, adult social care are going to have to get involved, because all the times that I asked for help with my hoarding and clutter, before and after my mother died of cancer, when I was forced to sign a homeless application form, and if I do jump off Beachy Head, because I do know someone Chris, whose brother picks up bodies from Beachy Head. I might be one of those bodies soon. I left a voice message for Robert Haig saying, someone will have to go into that garage that I'm paying storage to Eastbourne Borough Council for. It's full from top to bottom, this garage, of all the filth and the crap that I've done in social isolation. I can't say the word. Isolation. I lived in social isolation before my partner came along. My partner came along 5 years. We've known each other to say hi to for 10 years. But he had no idea what was going on behind closed doors. Homeworks are a joke. They saw me, they'd come into the flat. I had to get the support worker to sit by the door. One time she had post fall into her lap because she was sitting by the door because there was nowhere for her to sit. I got a kidney infection. I couldn't physically eat. I tell you what, 6 months after my mother died, I took an overdose of antipsychotics that were given to me by the social worker landlord. I'm getting this off my chest now. I'm going to say his name. Andy Francis, who's known as just a profit-making landlord. And he told my dying mother he'd get a good pension. And in supported accommodation, when I was being harassed, the same way I've been harassed in this hellhole, my dying mother was angry because she said, it's an infringement of your licensee rights when the housing officer suggested locking the lounge to stop me from going in there, which is a communal area. All because this silly old man thought he owned the communal area. Who do you think it's easier to get rid of, Bryony, you or the old man? And now that's exactly what this landlord is saying to my partner. Who do you think it's easier to get rid of? the nice lady, the nice girl, the middle class girl, the girl who's told that if she had a probation officer, if she committed a crime, she'd get the help. But everybody said the same thing. Everybody likes you, Bryony. I said, I'd hate to think how they'd treat me if I was their worst enemy. Nobody wants to help Bryony. She goes around looking like $1 million. Do I look like $1 million now? No, I don't bloody well think so. I'm not wearing makeup. I haven't washed. I haven't been in that bathroom because I've been terrorised in my own home. When are people going to listen, open their ears, shut their narcissistic mouths, stop behaving like children, get your heads out of the sand and look at what's going on around you? Because I seem to be the only person who really is telling it how it is. This is the pandemic, people. This is it, right? So this call handler, Keegan, she said she had no record of me on the system, despite trying to look up my address. But she has this one email that's fraudulent from Robert Haig, my housing officer. He's offered me a bedsit, which is not a one-bedroom flat. And if I don't take it, we're ending all duty. She started before I'd even said anything at all, she started attacking me. There are a lot of people out there who need a roof over their head and do. And I said, excuse me, you don't know anything about me and the complaints that I've been escalating ever since I moved into this property. And I also said, you don't know what I need to point out about this email. And when I said, I have been asking to speak to my housing officer's manageress, Katie Dawkins, this is what she said. She started shouting, Robert Haig's manager doesn't want to speak to you. I've never spoken to this call handler before. I said, right, well, could you give me your name, please? Because I need to speak to I've been asking and I've been told that she will contact me and I keep being fobbed off. I keep being fobbed off by people's managers and team leaders. And they've done this with Emma. Emma had said to me, ask for her. And Emma is the only person from customer services who's shown concern for what I have been put through. And I've been fobbed off by call handlers telling me different stories that their team leader is saying she's not working. I'm being told she's on a lunch break, and then I'm being told she's not working. And then I'm being told Emma doesn't want to speak to you. She's done as much as she can. I said, look, I've already been telling people that I'm a victim of corruption under Eastbourne Borough Council. They just don't stop. So wait for it. So this woman, this call handler, sorry, my partner's phoning me. That'll have to wait. I've got to get this off my chest. So this call handler, I said to her, can I have your name, please? Because you're actually being very rude to me. Sorry. It's going to look like I'm ignoring my partner, but he knows I'm doing this. She didn't want to give me first of all, she didn't want to give me her name. And I said, well, I need your name. I said, other call handlers are happy to give me their name. And I said, I want to make a complaint about you. So I need your name. And she said, she didn't want to give it to me. And I said, look, you've said to me, I said, I want to speak to my housing officer's manageress. Well, she's not in today. I said, well, that's not actually what you said to me. You said she doesn't want to speak to you. So she's just finding any reasons that she can not to speak to me. So I then said, "Look, I want to make a complaint. Can I speak to a superior?" Anyway, she wouldn't. She just immediately put me on, the music, the on hold. So this is where it gets interesting, folks. So I was then put through to her team leader. As soon as I spoke to him, he said, I said, "Could I take your name?" He was immediately typical. Welcome to Eastbourne. Welcome to Eastbourne Borough Council. Um, oh, God, even just saying Eastbourne Borough Council, I feel like I'm going to come out in a rash or something. I do. I just feel like I'm gonna. You know. So basically, this call handler, he comes on the phone and he's immediately doing what PC Stevens did at the patrol centre, the reverse psychology that they love to do with me. And if there's anyone else out there who can relate to me, please let me know. Please let me know. I would love to hear from you if you've experienced the same thing, because it would actually make me feel a little bit better. But he's saying he was very cross with me. He's supposed to be trained in PR skills. They love it when you say that. Oh, so this is the level of your training in PR skills. I love saying that to people because they get so cross. Because these narcissists don't like to be told exactly that. I mean, I've got some horror stories about Eastbourne. If I was to tell you about ESK, which is now closed down, the warehouse, that's a treasure. That's for another day. But anyway, so this team leader, Josh. Hi, Josh, if you're watching. I'm making you famous. Yeah, I've seen you down at Eastbourne Borough Council. You are a nasty piece of work. I was very polite to you, by the way, if you're watching, because it would be nice if this does go out to the whole of Eastbourne. That would be brilliant. But anyway, so basically, Josh was saying, what's the problem? You've been offered this property. I only got it was only dated. The email was only sent to me yesterday. It took me a long time. It took me more than a day before I could actually stomach this. I was vomiting violently in the toilet the other day from what I've been put through here. But this the thing is, because they are deliberately antagonistic, you have to. It is like playing a game. It is like playing a game. This is a life lesson. You have to be. The more they antagonize you, the more you have to be polite. And this is why I might seem a bit manic now, because it is designed to make you ill. Because I know that the idea is to make me doubt myself, that I'm in the wrong. I should be grateful. I should just receive whatever no. I have not had a place that I can call home since 2005, when my late mother sold the house. That's where my illness deteriorated. I have not been officially diagnosed with OCD, even though the food bank advocate said that's what it is. And I know because I've done the research. But all of this has been exacerbated by my soulmate, my beautiful soulmate, late mother's death. My mother would be 83 and she thought that they were helping me, and she would be disgusted. That is what my driving force to keep going to this day. They absolutely loathe me as much as I loathe them, because they know I'm telling the truth and they don't like it. So this Josh, he I said, the call handler that I spoke to, could you please give me her name? Why can't she give me her name? And it was 34 minutes, and he was counting 34 minutes before he actually gave me her name. And I even said to him at the end of it, because I could feel myself, I was getting so drained, trying to listening to him shouting down the phone, and I was like, yeah, I think please just give me her name. 30, he said, right. I said, oh, okay, so it's been 34 minutes now that you've finally given me her name, Keegan. This woman with a South African or Kiwi accent. I said, well, that's funny because even you were saying to me she doesn't have to give me her name, but 34 minutes later, you've given it to me. Thanks a lot. So that was probably the most helpful thing he did for me. Honestly, the one thing that really makes me laugh is when people say the police, they get so angry. The police, adult social care, the council, they have nothing to do with each other. That's what John Tutty, that fraud, who had that fraudulent Section 184 typed up about me, the housing officer who now works in Sainsbury's. Yeah. John, if you're watching, if you're out there, you told me that you had bipolar and you'd been homeless yourself. So why did you do that to me? Evil. Evil. And I've never used the word evil before. I remember being at a comedy club. Jim the compere was going to give me 5 minutes to do a stand-up. This is before I was broken by all these people. I went through an abusive relationship with an arsewipe called Joe, who emotionally and physically abused me literally after my mother's funeral in his house. I've also had attempted rape, but I met that arsewipe, excuse my French, in the comedy club. I do remember Jim the compere from Oi Oi Comedy saying Eastbourne Borough Council are a bunch of CUNTs. See you next Tuesday. Now that's a disgusting word. I don't like it. It's Burke rhyming slang, Cockney rhyming slang. It's a horrible word. It's a disgusting word, but yeah, I do agree with you. I've seen for myself. They just don't stop though. They are all in cahoots. But at this rate, the fact that social worker landlord said to me, you might want to check you haven't inherited your mother's cancer. My mother died of a rare cancer, by the way, peritoneal something. She had a hysterectomy and then it spread. Yeah, thanks, Andy. You piece of low-life scum. Exploiting vulnerable people along with your brother. What the fuck were you doing up on Beachy Head drunk? Doesn't really take much to work that one out. World famous suicide spot. She doesn't drink, smoke, or take drugs. I wonder why she was intoxicated up there. Yeah. Living for your pensions, are you? Manic Street Preachers, your children will be next. If you tolerate this, your children will be next. And you are, folks. The great British public, you keep programmed into your TVs. I'm glad my TV broke about 6 years ago. Sorry, I'm just having a bit of a rant here. But anyway, basically, this Josh, he said, this team leader. So it was 34 minutes later that he gave me the name of the call handler, Keegan. And he basically said, you know what? I didn't even get to say what I needed to say, which is what I've just said. That he hung up on me, so I never got to say that I didn't receive the letter that Robert Haig claims he sent me, that this can't be a final offer because there never was an initial offer of a property. They're saying that if you're homeless, you have to accept whatever they give you. Whatever the housing officer deems is appropriate for you, you have to accept, otherwise they discharge duty to you. But that's of no help to me. Of course, I understand that. That makes sense. If you're homeless, you have to accept what they give you. But do you really think that after 16 years, is it 2005? It's 2021 now. I haven't had a place I can call home, a bedsit, when I have been in. You should have seen the size of the room in the last place I was in before I was trafficked here. I missed out on one night's sleep at that hotel that I'd spent £2,000 on to stay in, to keep away from the temporary accommodation that I was in previously because I didn't feel safe. I still had my stuff in that hotel. I had bruises on me where the police had handcuffed me up on Beachy Head. Again, I'm going to say it again. My crime, repetition for emphasis. This is what the president likes to say. Repetition for emphasis. My crime was sitting in the Beachy Head pub, crying for my dead mother quietly in a corner, waiting to be served a cup of tea, which is what the staff had told me to do, because their solicitor that works for the custody centre said to me, did they agree for you to go in there first? Yes, they did. Go and sit down and we'll get you a cup of tea. Sitting quietly at the back of the pub, I had lovely canvas trousers on. Summer canvas trousers. They practically beat me up. That's what it felt like anyway. I ran over to the Beachy Head chaplaincy. This is the 26th of October. I ran over to the chaplaincy hut. They wouldn't let me go back in the pub. I was telling them to leave. They came up. I said, I don't want to talk to you. It was my right under common law. If the police are causing me distress or alarm or whatever, it's my right to say, please leave. These Nazi thugs said to the staff who told me to sit down and that they would serve me a cup of tea, they said, do you want her here? And they said, no. That's not what they said before the police were there. They told me to sit down and they would serve me a cup of tea. I was crying for my dead mother. They grabbed me, carried me out of the pub. I ran over to the Beachy Head chaplaincy hut. They said that, the chaplains told us to go in there and get you if you ever go in there. Lynn and Steve, please. I've left so many notes for you with my late mother's phone number on it because I didn't feel I could ring the number. What is the point of being put on a severe disability premium? A state welfare that classes you, has you certified as having incapacity, severe incapacity, disability. So they ruined my trousers. They pulled the button off, muddied them, because for the first time in my life, I kicked out. I am fed up of being dragged around in handcuffs. If I'm suicidal, it's because I'm being pushed. I'm not dealing with trauma. I haven't had support. I haven't had the support from my sisters. 6 months after my mother died, I took an overdose of the antipsychotics that were not prescribed to me by a doctor. They were just handed to me by the social worker landlord, who said I knew too much. I knew nothing back then. He said, we give them to schizophrenics. Olanzapine. I have seen what olanzapine does to people. Because they told me they dribble. It messes with that. They've had memory loss. Something that I'm already starting to suffer through stress. Through, as my partner said, how did he describe it? Something trauma. You know, when it's repeated trauma, it's I can't think of the word. Sustained trauma. That's why a locum said I need trauma-based therapy, what the Vietnam War veterans were offered, due to the violence between my parents, the violence from my sisters, because it has a knock-on effect. They used to draw blood on each other. I was told that my sister's sex change to a man means she needs trauma-based therapy. But because she works for the very people who made me homeless, the very programmers, South Down Housing Association, because she works for people with severe disability, having a sex change is buying into their agenda, their satanic agenda. And you can look at it how you want. You can call it what you want, but it is what it is. That is what it is. This is all part of their plan to mess up the gender agenda. And apparently, the more feminine you are, I've heard this being said, the more feminine you are a target, because it's all to do with destroying the gender and the family unit. It's satanic. It's through and through satanic. And it's taken me a while to grasp what they're doing. But I'm onto them, and I'm still here. I'm still here in the flesh and blood. I stabbed myself through the arm with a 6-inch knife. I did that in a hotel that I funded with £7,500 of PIP, which is now, that money went on hotels to keep myself off the streets. It was non-stop psyops. So even in the private hotels in sunny Eastbourne, there are a lot of homeless people. Yeah. But Bryony knows too much, said the social worker landlord. Ooh, I'm getting myself into hot water now, real trouble now. Well, do you know what? Excuse my French, you can kiss my balloon knot. So, seriously, I love that phrase. I got that from Crime Bodge, who exposes all the police brutality in Britain. Yeah, kiss my balloon knots. I like that. So, oh, you gotta laugh. If you don't laugh, you'll cry. I was crying last night, and I have been thinking of jumping off Beachy Head, but I'm trying to just get this off my chest. So this call handler, who I've met in person, Josh, they really are dirtbags. But their time is coming. Their time is coming. So he gave me, after 34 minutes, this woman's name, Keegan. But they wouldn't. I spoke to Robert on the phone, my housing officer, and I said what had just happened. He wasn't in. Do you know what? He's showing more and more of his true colours. And as I said, if he's got children, everything that's already been done to me is illegal and unlawful. It's out and out wrong. It's out and out wrong. What kind of a person? I mean, whether people are telling the truth or not, in the first instance, you do what I do. You take it at face value and you hope that they're telling the truth. Oh, this person's been attacked in their home. Right, well, I need to take this seriously and investigate. Sergeant Saville, who said he'd do all these things for me and a report, 2.25 hours on the phone to him. The next day, I'm using my panic alarm, and the next door neighbour, not the one who had his dog poisoned and is worried about his son, the other one, he said, don't jump off Beachy Head. They're not worth it. I've tried the landlord. He's not interested. I report that they're still coming. These people are coming in through the back and climbing over the wall, and I get this letter, this threatening letter, saying, I just, oh. They use your honesty. Anything that you've ever told them in the past about, I told people what I'd done, where throughout the crisis, I've behaved in ways unnatural to me, and it's been deemed as aggression and maybe even violence. What, a cry for help? Oh, you're literally saying, please help me. And I've had people saying to me, if you were to commit a crime and you were to have a probation officer, you'd be getting the help. This one that I played the recording to, I heard her right outside my room claiming that she'd attacked someone in a car park. I'm going to get my solicitor to help me. I have been non-stop trying to get a solicitor to help me. And I have just had an email from Lee Day Solicitors. I was on the phone yesterday for ages to a call handler because the Filipino couple that I helped, when Councillor Alan Shuttleworth, head of Housing Cabinet for Community, failed me, and bedbugs were even on the local news at the time. This Filipino couple, the lady who had all these sores and everything, she said, try Lee Day. Because she's been represented by them. I'm paying storage for other people's clutter and crap and unsanitary waste because of what this council did to me as a vulnerable person. If I was to jump off Beachy Head, they would just come out with, that's why I want the truth out there. They've used my honesty and my mental health as a weapon for fear and control, not to help me, to fear and to control me. And anything that I tell them that's the truth is used as part of their venom, their evil, their exploitation. It's all corrupt. To the point where if I'm attacked in my own home, I don't feel that I can call the police because I'm scared that they will threaten me. But you know, Sussex Police, you think that you're okay to follow orders and do all of this, yeah? Do you want to leave a little emoji on Facebook? Does it make you feel big? Does it make you feel like a man? I'm going to answer my partner in a minute. Hang on. Does it make you feel like a big woman? Does it make you feel like a real woman? Or does it make you feel butch? Because whatever it makes you feel, you know you're going to have to look in the mirror. Just like who are the people that come round to the cells who give you food and everything? One of them nearly took my fingers off when I took the food. I've had the door slammed in my face a few times, the cell door. This is as a homeless and a suicidal person who's been put through all this corruption, who's bereaved. I remember one time I was in the cell, I threw my arm against the wall and I imagined what it would be like to jump off Beachy Head and hit the ground, because my fear is, as it would be for anyone, pain. Surviving jumping off Beachy Head. Andy left the Beachy Head chaplaincy team, Andy in Brighton. He said it was too procedure based. They've had their glossy pictures with Katie Bourne, who's part of a bigger. It doesn't even. Suicides don't even make the papers anymore. People jump off those cliffs like I know lemmings don't kill themselves, but that's a myth. That's a Disney myth. The poor animals were thrown off the cliffs, by the way. Yeah, lovely. Poor animals. Joe, I've left a message for my housing officer. I was getting so angry and upset earlier, and as I said, you know what? If I do kill myself, someone's going to have to go in there and sort through all my years of rotting in my own filth. Adamant wrote to me when he made the Channel 4 documentary, Madness of Prince Charming, in 2003. And in the letter, he sent me parcels, and, you know, I've met Adamant and everything. But he said, you know, do not feel ashamed. All these people have done is make me feel ashamed. They've made me feel ashamed. They've tried to. I used to feel ashamed. I don't feel ashamed of my mental health. I feel drained, exasperated. I used to compare myself to other people. That's where the shame comes in. No, these are cowards. These really are psychotic, pathologically sick. So you know, narcissistic, sociopathic, and the men and the women. Please. I've just never known anything like it, and all I can do is just think. I just think to myself, at least I had a happy. Oh, I did have pain in my childhood. I did have trauma, but I had happy memories. And I just think of those poor children. Can you imagine having these people for parents? And that is why Robert Haig. I don't care if you're following orders or not. I gave you a chance. I've given a lot of people a chance. You knew what I'd been through. You even said that you were concerned about my mental health, so you actually played a part in my sectioning. I had bruises on me. I lost the property. I'd kept away from a temporary accommodation that I was telling you I wasn't safe in. Oh, is that Rosie you're talking about? Yes, that is. That vile creature that's known to Sussex police, who sits in the street screaming and shouting at people, drunk off her head, neat vodka, threatening people. They don't deserve to have a home. I've learned that there are actually people who don't deserve to have a home. I was made street homeless for complaining about bed bugs crawling on me. She comes out, this traveller woman, because the traveller community have got a bad name. And it's people like that that give them a bad name. She's known as a traveller. She's drunk off it. She would walk out in front of cars, off her head drunk, and covered in blood walking back indoors. Because she'd get hit by a car walking into the street. Like, she stole people's food from them, their cooking. She stole an ice lolly from me. Okay, so it's okay. That might sound petty and childish. Oh, she stole my ice lolly. Doesn't matter. It's my ice lolly, and I left it on the side. She just blatantly took it. I come out of my room and I call out, not her name, because I'm sandwiched in between her and this woman below me who's off her head on drugs, dancing in the street and in the early hours just acting stupid. This is a place where they put mothers and babies. And this woman, yes. So I come out of my room and I shout out, whoever it is who's stealing our food, stop. She came up, she's, how dare you? Saini is a big man, one of the managers at this temporary accommodation in Eastbourne. He's there. There's CCTV, unlike in this place. So if anyone kills me, they're not going to know if it's a murder or a suicide. So basically, he comes out and he doesn't want to know. I said, she's been stealing people's cooking and she's stolen something of mine, and he could see this. He walked away. I call 999 and I had my 999 call terminated. This is the only time that Sussex Police have written to me from the Professional Standards Department apologising. But then it happened again in the hotel that I spent £2,000 of my severe disability to stay in to keep away from that very property for that reason. And so the same thing happens again. And then it happened again when Sergeant Saville had been on the phone to me for 2.25 hours, and I had to use my panic alarm because of her. And that's when the neighbour, Steve, next door to me, came out and said, don't jump off Beachy Head, they're not worth it. And I had my 999 call terminated, and I was thinking about getting in a taxi and going up there. So there you go. It's never ending, people. I'll tell you why it's never ending, because you lot out there, you too have to do your bit. My mother had an amazing life. She had so many stories to tell. She worked at sea in the 50s. She worked for Woman's Magazine when she was a teenager. She met Gene Kelly. She served Harry Belafonte. Also, if you've ever seen the film, what's it called? Wimbledon. She did a scene with, what's his name? Sam Neill. But that's nothing. Not compared to her actual life that she had in the 50s and 60s, where she travelled the world and things happened, and she said to me, people in this country, they moan, but few speak out. Well, I'm doing that. So, Robert, I've given you a chance. That's it. I'm done. I'm done. So it's 11:37. I need to wash my feet because of my OCD, and I can put some trainers on because I've washed my trainers. I've got this overwhelming, crippling. If you saw the storage in Hales and Eastbourne Borough Council, the garage, I'm never going to get through this. I feel like a dead body. I'm looking at myself. I'm pale. I'm struggling to function. I haven't cleaned my teeth for days on end. I put lip gloss on because I'm trying to look a bit presentable on here. I feel like crap. I've learned things about myself and my mother that I've learned a lot about a lot of things just through experience, but they've had so many chances to help me. They are full of vomit, toxic poison. They are not people. This actually goes beyond training in PR skills with the public. I don't care what you call it, targeted individual, you can call it what the hell you like. It is what it is. And if anybody wants to leave a nasty comment or say anything nasty to me, please be my guest. Do you know what I was saying to my partner earlier? I actually feel like doing something, not something bad, of course, doing something that, a normal constituent of Eastbourne or anybody, just an ordinary person would say, well, anything that I say is going to annoy Sussex police. I feel like just saying to them, do you know what? If you want to arrest me, because I've already said that to them before. PC Harriet. He threatened to arrest me because I repeated to him what John Patterson said to me. John Alexander Patterson, who is currently incarcerated, and the Ministry of Defence tried to assassinate him. They're murdering him now as we speak at Chichester Psychiatric Unit. This ex-naval 70-year-old whistleblower. Because I repeated what he said about the London underworld coming down heavily on Sussex police, and I said to PC Harriet, who was sitting there with his silly little girl, because that's what they are, they're silly little boys and girls. She's sitting there giggling like a silly. It's worse than watching a 5-year-old. And she's just sitting, looking at their phones like this. And I just because I said to him that the London underworld will come down heavily on them. This is at the Eastbourne DGH. I said, "Oh, you look a bit scared now." He said, and he looked up. He did look scared. And he said, "Brian, if you're going to say things like that, I'll arrest you." Because I was crying so much. I hadn't cried like that for a long time. I thought my insides were going to fall out. I stopped crying and I said, "Well, go on then. Arrest me." And I was telling them that it was worse than talking to 2-year-olds. I don't have children. He didn't arrest me. But it would have been funny because they dragged me. I'd been crying my eyes out down there. He called my partner a knob in the car. That then causes problems between me and my partner. Do you see where I'm going with this anyway? To hell with them all. But as I said, people, you got to speak up. Speak up. I'm going to have a look at these comments. I know that there are some good people here. So anyway, thank you. It's nice to have an audience. I thought to myself, at the very least, I'll get this off my chest. So it's been 2 hours again. But when I rant, I rant. But you got to, though. I've got to. I don't want to be down at the urgent care lounge. I want the world to see this, because that goes nowhere. That just stays in the 4 walls and swirls around and swirls around. And it does literally go round and round in circles. But even the woman at the urgent care lounge, she was actually nice to me. The one who PC Ian Williams and PC Austin, PC Anderson took me down to see. She was nice to me, but she used the magic wand phrase, and I said, "No, please, not that phrase." And she said, "Oh, well, I better write that down. Trigger." But even John, the contractor here, used it. So where I've heard other people's testimonies about MK Ultra abuse, I know there's this one person, she got funny with me, and I was quite upset. She was funny with me on YouTube in the comments section, but I can relate to a lot of what she's saying, even about her journey with a bus driver, because I've had a lot of interactions in my life like that. But these phrases, there's a lot of the things that she's talking about I can relate to on a general basis, but I don't want to go down the whole. I have been taken advantage of by a Freemason, and well, it's like I didn't. That was the first time I'd heard of a Freemason, and I didn't know about all the satanic stuff. If you look up the stuff that John Wedger is exposing, and Candy Girl, I don't even want to go there. Uri Geller, he's obviously into some dark stuff, because I tried some of the stuff that he talked about when I was a child, and it's real. It's not, we're not just talking about, people think, oh, spoon bender. It's not about just bending spoons. He's into some stuff, and that's why he's on the Rains list. It's all satanic. I mean, he's into some weird stuff anyway. But my middle sister, who's had the sex change, she got Uri Geller's phone number when my mother died at the hospice, and he said that we would have these signs from my mother, and I have had those signs: the bird flying around the room, flashing lights. It's you got to be. Now, then I learned that he was on this Rains list thing, and if you look up the Rains list, one of the people that's on this Rains list is an Australian chief. It gets actually very frightening. That's why I don't like to talk about it. But this Australian woman who said that she and Nicole Kidman were part of this satanic, where they murder children and murder people, and that's why I believe this woman's story. Anyway, you got to be so careful about the stuff that's out there. Please, would you all do me a favour, whether you believe in our Heavenly Father or not, if we could all just, I'm not trying to be selfish here, but if we could all just pray, in about 10 minutes, 14 minutes time, it will be our Heavenly Father's day of rest, as my partner says, Shalom Shabbat. And, all I can say is, could we all just, pray for, keep the I have to be honest, I don't feel like praying, but what can you do? What can you do? I've been ranting for over 2 hours, getting things off my chest, but I'm going to look at. I'm so sorry I haven't looked at your comments. I don't want to seem like I'm being so neurotic and full of myself here. I'm not. So I'm telling it how it is. I've been on this for over 2 hours, and I only meant to be on here for about half an hour. So, but it's very hard not to. But when you know how it is, though, if you're dealing with things on your own, and you haven't got someone to vent to. Been on here for a long time. It's, I'm trying to smile, and I don't feel like smiling, but anyway, sorry, I got to remember I'm not in my own bubble here. I've got an audience, so sorry. It's very weird, all of this, James. James Worley, sorry. I couldn't agree more. You should check out a guy named Mark Tassel. He talks all about the false pandemic and how its use is to control people. Yes. Oh, I'll have to have a look. Thank you for that. He knows all about Bill Gates, Joe Biden, the cabal, and the satanic agenda. I'll have to look him up. Yeah. You know, there's I mean, I know bits and pieces. I don't know all I'm not up with what's going on in the world. I just know a lot about a lot. My brain can't process all that stuff. My brain can't process all the stuff, the politics and stuff. I haven't got the brains. I can only process so much. But Smiley, hello. Hope you're okay. So try and calm down. I know it's hard. Yeah, it is. I went outside at one point while I was on the phone to my partner, and I said, I want the neighbours to hear this. I said, because I said, I wish I had my mother's cancer. It only has to, it's a build up. It's like a pressure cooker, though. When you're dealing with people non-stop, non-stop, and they know that you're vulnerable, and they know, because they know, I've told people, if they don't want to hear it, if it's like these idiots, who do that narcissistic thing of, yo, don't want to hear it, or you're triggering me. Sorry, if someone says that they've gone through trauma, I don't jump on it and go, that's affecting me. Your trauma is affecting me. No. Even if I'm with someone in person, even if I see someone having a mental breakdown, I'm not going to go up to them and go, oh, you're triggering me with your trauma. What kind of a psychopath? I'll tell you what kind of a psychopath. The people I'm dealing with. I've spent my whole life trying to understand other people, even if I know I never will. That's what being a human is meant to be about. And these people have gone out of their way. There are some very good actors and actresses out there. And I'm telling you, I've had enough. I was told by 2 PCSOs in just one of my crises, just one of these horrific events, that most, Bryony, she said, most people would have given up a long time ago. And to be perfectly honest, I would be more angry than you if this was happening to me. Brilliant. But why wasn't anybody pulling me out of this? This is what I mean. They weren't. And they wonder why people get angry. So people, if you're going to keep complaining, yeah, because everybody needs to take responsibility. I had a senior psychologist say this to me. A senior psychologist who very severely failed me. I gave her a chance. She had the nerve to say, she left a very slimy message, as my partner said. Talking about you have to take my lead practitioner. I was told by a nurse at the Haven she will lie to save her job. A very stern Irish nurse said this to me. I said, I know. She's already lied, saying she got me into Sell-on Place property, an all-male tenancy that I lost in less than a month, which was all set up by the police and the paramedics and the council. The police said, we think she's been sectioned and not returning. Sorry, the paramedics took me to the hospital and I was greeted by someone from the crisis team, this little girl. She was so mousy and she looked like she was going to cry. I'm not going to help you if you're going to get angry. And I said, what's happened to my possessions? My sentimental items that I wrote to Stephen Lloyd about. A 5-sided letter saying, if anything's happened to those sentimental items, gifts I made for Darren's mother, gifts that I made for the nurses who nursed my late mother at the hospice, SD cards with photos on. If anything's happened to those items, I will jump off Beachy Head. I put it in a 5-sided letter for Stephen Lloyd. March 2019, they threw away my birthday cards and my birthday flowers. I haven't had any birthday cards and birthday flowers. I had so many lonely birthdays and Christmases over a period of about 8 years after my mother died. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Yeah. About 6 years completely on my own after my mother died. That's social isolation. But this lead practitioner, she's very, very severely failed me. I was saying to Darren, it was like talking to a 5-year-old. He's recorded her. He recorded her speaking. I don't think maybe it was a good idea that you put your nails into the police. Sorry, can you not hear what I'm saying? This is someone who sat in front of Dr. Baginski, who couldn't look me in the eye. She was looking down like this. A doctor who wanted to suggest that I suffer from psychosis because I put up a protest at being dragged into the very building that made me sign a homeless application form 6 days before my mother died of cancer. Not the council, St Mary's House. Dragged in there in handcuffs. A building where I had sat there with so-called mental health professionals when I was in supported accommodation, and they've got their clipboards like this. This is in 2006, and they're looking at each other rolling their eyes at each other. It was like sitting with children who had a mental health problem. You just couldn't make it up. You couldn't make it up. And I remember sitting with them thinking, what is their problem? This is when my mother was alive. This is when I was in supported accommodation. This is before I cottoned on. Because it's taken me all these years of stress and trauma to work it out. And people still are refusing. My godmother rang me up out of the blue about two weeks ago. About 2 weeks ago. And she said the only reason why I think she rang me after all these years when I took an overdose, because she was on the receiving end of it. I said that I wanted a priest to do last rites because I was a Catholic. I'm not anything to do with that now, thank goodness. But she rang me out of the blue, saying there's a big deadly killer out there. Now, my godmother, she upset me at the time. I didn't feel like I could say anything. She said, I've got my own grandchildren to see. I've got this, I've got that. She put me down. She said, you're like a child, you are. I to this day, even a couple of weeks ago when she rang me, I didn't feel like I could say anything. My Portuguese godmother. It was very, very, very hurtful at the time. I lost my mother when I was 25. I thought, so what? So I was 27 when my mother died. I had a very unusual, close relationship to my mother. I mean, what is it? It comes across as jealousy, actually, to be perfectly honest with you. I think she took it personally because she took it personally that the fact that I'd said that my mother's friend, 3 generations of friendship, their mothers were best friends and they were best friends. And my godmother just rings me out of the blue saying there's this big deadly killer out there. Oh, we don't judge you. We don't. Well, the thing is, they did judge me at the time, and she's saying to me, without having met my partner, that my partner is abusive, just like the bastards, excuse my French, who was mentally, emotionally, and physically abusive after my mother died after the funeral. So, without having met my current partner, she's saying he's emotionally abusive. Well, a lot of people have said that. Someone at the food bank said that, but they're not going through what I've been through because I'm getting the criticism. And if the psychiatric unit wanted to help me, why did they abuse me? Especially after I got talking to someone who did want to listen to me, and that's John Alexander Patterson, currently being murdered for exposing satanic child abuse and the rest of it. I'm smiling because I'm pretty damn fed up with the public in this country. My mother was right. If you're going to moan, get off your asses and stand up and speak up. Forget about all this infighting. You've got children who are already suffering as a result. The woman in room 3, she intimidated me out of the bathroom. Oh, my kids, I don't get to see my kids. She's stealing from me. She verbally attacked me in the street, and I went up to her because I'd had enough of this. And I said, leave me alone, because the police don't do anything. I said, I'm not surprised your children have been taken away from you. Whilst this lot are attacking me in my own home and taking drugs and doing all these things, you've got people in their 70s locked up for exposing child abuse. What is wrong with people? Why are people attacking John Wedger? You got John Patterson, John Wedger, Andy Devine, all these people out there, Matt Taylor, all these people who've done, I mean, I don't know them on a personal level. I've met John Patterson and I've spoken to Matt Taylor, but they're doing what they can. And what really annoys me at a basic level, and I'm talking about at a basic level, you can't get people to do Jack SH1T. I haven't seen my partner's parents. I was being threatened with being floored by a so-called nurse. They're all as demented as each other. I was bullied when I did care work with the elderly. I was bullied by an elderly matron and a stupid old hag in the scullery because they are still, in their minds, they were like children in a playground. This was across the road from my old primary school. And just down the road from my secondary school, where I got a front page headline for being bullied to suicide, practically. I got another one of these. Then it happened that the worst bullying has been Sussex police and these creeps, these landlords, these creeps and these tenants. And they're scared of me because I'm telling it how it is. If you want to do what I'm doing, do it. Do it, people. Anyone out there who watches this, get off your ass. Stop attacking other people. Stop criticising. Everybody get together. Stop behaving like children. There are no real men and women alive anymore. I find it very, very frightening. And I am not just saying that. I find it extremely frightening. Hermann Goebbels said at the Nuremberg trials, he said, I'm going to say it again. They said, how did you get people to become Nazis? Easy. Fear. And that's why you lot out there are wearing these stupid mouth masks. You look stupid. There was a time when let's say in a parallel universe, I too would have worn a mouth mask. I'm a terrible one for catching things. Do you do you really think? But I tell you what, the best thing that ever happened to me, I think, possibly, was my TV breaking about 6 years ago. Because I've naturally been put through all this BS, and I can see nobody's doing anything. Nobody's doing anything. That John, let me know if anything happens to you, the contractor. Let me know. Oh, her in room 3. She was going to be evicted, was she? She was going to be evicted. I was asked if I would go to court to testify over their violence because I heard her screaming, "You headbutted me." She begged me in tears not to call the police. And because in the end I didn't feel safe, I did. And that's why they've turned on me, because they're like little children and they wonder why their children have been taken from them. How do you think the next generations are going to behave if you lot behave like this? I don't even want to think about it. That's why I don't want to be here. I'm missing out on having a child. I'd like to have a child. But I didn't think that I could have a child because I thought I've got to be mature. I've got to be like my mother. I need to be like my mother. I need to make clothes. I need to cook. I need to do all these things. She was amazing, my mother. She made my toys, some of my toys. She made some of my clothes. She made me a beautiful Edwardian dress. So despite the trauma, I still had good things in my life. And that's why I didn't think that I could be a mother, because as a child, I thought, I've got to be like my mother. I put myself down. I attacked myself. And I have to deal with these arsewipes when all I wanted was just a little bit of support. A little bit of support. How you are seeing me now is not how I am on a daily basis. I do the British stiff upper lip. Hello, how are you? Yes, I'm fine, thank you. And as the woman at the urgent care lounge said, she laughed. Because I said, you don't tend to go, oh, yes, I'm feeling suicidal. Yes, oh, yes. Sorry, I'll answer my partner in a bit. Oh, yes, I'm feeling fine. I'm feeling suicidal today, but never mind. Ta-ta. I'm just thinking of going to Tesco's and buying some alcohol and going up to Beachy Head and jumping off. Yes, bye. I mean, it's just like that horrible Kathy at Stephen Lloyd's office, the manageress. She's sitting there at the wine bar. Oh, hello, Bridie. I just had my face in the paper as a missing person. I've been dragged into, blocked by all the local Freemasons from telling the Herald exactly what happened. How are you, Bridie? I'm sipping wine. Oh, and I had, in a bin liner, a duvet. And I'd even had a nurse at the walk-in station, Eastbourne Station surgery. I'd been sleeping rough on the edge of Beachy Head. And this nurse, this is how fake people are in this town. Anybody who knows Eastbourne. There were people from Newcastle who apparently came down here. They can't stand the people. They come here for the country, for the sun. People here are just so full of bullshit. It is so fake. But I've been brought up because my mother was very middle class. She had a privileged upbringing during the war. You go along with the bullshit, but there's only so much that you can take. Okay? When that trauma has been building up like a pressure cooker and you've taken so much shit from people, excuse my French, I am swearing. But the reason why I'm swearing now and the reason why I'm getting so angry now is because I've been holding it in. And that's why I went outside a few hours ago while I was on the phone to my partner and I said, I want the neighbours to hear this because they're complaining about this place and I just got to let this, because I feel like I'm going to lose it. I really do feel like, because if it I have actually been very nice to these people. I feel sorry for that woman's children. Because if I don't feel safe around her, she wonders why they've been taken from her. And I'm feeling suicidal as a result of it. And the police are doing nothing. And the landlord is doing nothing because he claims that I am doing exactly what I said that they were doing. And John witnessed her calling me an effing head case. I am sick. I wish my mother had settled in another country because I'm sick of the culture and it's getting worse. And that's why suicides are going up, not because of the scamdemic, but this kind of thing. So you lot out there, you got to get off your asses because I've already had it with Eastbourne People's Assembly. That pathetic, dirty old man, Carol's husband. Every time I opened my mouth to speak, I put my hand up to speak. He was red-faced. He every time he heckled me. What's this you're talking about? This grey-haired old, white-haired old man. What you your words are all coming out all jumbled. What are you talking about police brutality for? And I'd say to him, look, please. In the end, I said to him, look, please, would you just let me speak? And he knew that there were people there with disabilities. This is the last time I went to the Eastbourne People's Assembly. Do tell them, by the way. They were obviously jealous and didn't like it when I spoke out in front of Councillor Alan Shuttleworth, Head of Housing Cabinet for Community, and David Tutt, who are high up at Eastbourne Borough Council. That was back in 2016. Every time since then, they'd heckle me. I'd sheepishly put my hand up. I only spoke out once in a big way, and that was in front of those people. And this one woman gave me a thumbs up. She said, "Well done." I said, "Thank you." Since then, attack, attack, attack. That's what I've had. That's all I've had. And that horrible Brian, he knew that there were people there that evening with severe disabilities, including my partner's friend who suffers with anxiety. And I'm still to this day very, very hurt by him because I've made a card for him and a Jeremy Corbyn cards on Funky Pigeon, whatever it was, and he said it was the best birthday card he'd ever received. But no, I mean, seriously, that really hurt me because the secretary, I've got to be careful what I say, but she had tried to talk me out of jumping off Beachy Head, and she suffered with her mental health. This is the anti-austerity group, the Eastbourne People's Assembly. They meet at Matthew 25, where homeless people go. If you're just telling it how it is and putting your hand up, there's a horrible bullying culture. And I've learned something along the way, that people in this country, the more and the more I'm seeing of it. My mother lived in different countries. She wanted to settle in New Zealand. That was her favourite country. But she said the British are known for moaning and few speak out. And my mother was a brave woman. She spoke out at the appraisal of my headmaster at primary school because the PTA wanted to get rid of him. And a lot of people, including my mother, thought he was perverted, including us children. And it's a fairly big church for congregation, a Catholic church. I was 12 years old and I had left the church, the primary school, and she spoke out. She shouted, "Rubbish! That man has he's nothing but." And the whole church looked at her and I could feel myself sinking into the pew, thinking, "Oh my gosh, I want the ground to swallow me up." But at the same time, I was proud. I thought, "That's my mum." Every time boys bullied me, my mum would grab them and say, if my mother was to do what she did back then now, she'd probably end up in prison indefinitely. Whoops, I'm spitting at the screen. But the point I'm making is she was heavily criticised. She wore a red coat because she knew that it would make her feel confident. And she did actually cry at home about it, but because the shock of it, having to do that, but she knew she had to. And people came up to me and my mother saying, "Your mother should have a gold medal for what she did." And I thought, yeah, because she was doing what other people, and she did that. She also did that at the anti-fox hunting thing in London, because obviously when you feel passionate about something, when you know something's evil and it's wrong, you're going to speak up. Yeah, she did that, and it happened there and then. It happened with the she actually ridiculed a huntsman. This is what is so brilliant. She used her brain. A lot of people, she didn't want to stand with the anti, she stood with the pro hunters, because the anti had such a bad name for being troublemakers, at protests. They're looked upon as troublemakers. So my mother used her middle class, her class, she used her noddle. This hunter thought that she was going to praise him. She said the look on his face when she ridiculed him. Excuse me. Yes. What do you look like? I there have been, oh gosh, there have been some times when you think, gosh, this was meant to happen. I mean, up in London, we went to when Princess Diana died, we didn't go to the actual funeral, but we were on the streets. Do you know, that was one of the most weirdest things moment in history, seeing Diana's coffin go by with the thing saying mummy. And I was the same age as Prince William. I was 15. I was also suffering from depression, and that's when I started to feel suicidal at that age. I'm 38, nearly 39, and this is where I've ended up. So basically, I do actually remember a film crew, a TV crew, an American TV crew came up to us, a news TV crew, and they said, "Would you like to say something?" And my mother said, they asked me and my sister, and we were too shy. I was definitely too shy back then. I might say something now, but back then I was really too shy. And my mother spoke up, and she even cried as she was speaking. In fact, I can count on my hand the number of times that she's cried. I can remember crying, because it's a very rare thing to see. I know I've gone off track here, but there is something in this country about people, the people coming together as one and being affected by something. But I've been saying for the last few years, I said, well, I didn't say it so much, I thought it. I thought there will be riots one day, there will be protests. Because this country, like, my mother's American friend said what other people, I overheard a conversation in a hotel where someone else said that their American friend said, "I don't know how you manage in this country. It's so expensive." And that's what my mum's friend said. You know, with the food bank thing, the food bank, working families going to food banks. I mean, hello, people. Was it just me, or didn't anybody think for 1 second, hang on a minute, a food bank for working people? This country has always been expensive. People can't afford to work. It doesn't work out. I would actually like to be working. I mean, I've got my mental health disability. I want to be doing so much with myself. And I'm wanting to throw myself off Beachy Head, not just because of the BS I'm dealing with in these circumstances, but I want to have a life. But people can't afford to, and I couldn't even hold down a job. And I would make a good carer. Even the Freemasons said I'd make a good nurse. But bloody hell, excuse my French, I mean, as I said, I was bullied so badly when I did care work. Determined, Bryony McCarthy. Yeah, determined, like I'm still alive now. But, yeah, good things come out of bad. I just think, God, was that not an alarm bell, the food bank thing? Because, excuse me for sounding simplistic here, but working families going to food banks. Have you seen that film that we saw with the Eastbourne People's Assembly? We saw it at the cinema that's now closed down. What was it called? How Brits are struggling, and they said, "Oh, bring your hankies," and I thought, oh, yeah, bring your hankies, but you lot, they just read off newspapers. We sit in a circle in a church hall reading off, and I was very polite about this. Don't get me wrong. I'm just telling you exactly how I feel, because they've turned out to be a bunch of you-know-whats. And I've been very nice to these people. But as I said, I was being heckled by them. All I said was, I don't mean to be rude, but we're all reading on, it all seems like you're reading off headlines and nobody's actually, we're going to the cinema to see a film about how bad things are, where a woman who can't feed her own children has gone into the food bank and opened up a can and she's going, because she's so hungry. And then I learn what I suspected, which is that the Trestle Trust is run by, because 99% of charities are run by the Illuminati, the Freemasons, as we all know. It was set up, as I suspected, so that mothers who can't afford to feed their children would be going to banks and have their children taken away from them, because their children are cash cows for adult social care. And that is why people, even Panorama have interestingly covered this. Adult social care are not there to help us. They are not there to help people going through domestic abuse. They are there to control. It is all about fear and control, not just psyops, not just the rest of it. So just as I suspected, this is why people are going to food banks. So the mother will be relying on the food bank, still can't feed her children, so the children will be taken away, are cash cows, to be trafficked into this corrupt satanic system. That is the real pandemic, people. Take those face nappies off, because for one thing, they're going to give you face sores. You find you can't breathe with them on as well. I'm not going to wear them. So I'll have to starve to death, won't I then? I'm not taking the mark of the beast. I'm not taking a microchip. I'm not taking any of this BS. You're not putting anything in my body. I pray. And let me tell you something. I wish to goodness my mother had not. I don't actually want to talk about it too much because I might just completely lose it. Because if I think about it, I will lose my temper. I will get very upset. But I'll tell you something. My mother amazed doctors without the need for any intervention. She had been given so long to live. And when we went to Center Parcs, the idea was for my mother to see me and my sisters happy together. We had to put on a bit of a front, obviously. I got very upset with my eldest sister, but there's nothing unusual there. When you've had bullying all your life, this is what it does, narcissistic abuse. So we had to put on a bit of a front, to look good. But doctors said that whatever it did to her, it did something anyway. She amazed doctors. She just amazed. I'm no. Don't ask me. I'm no good at the. I'm no good at the medical stuff. I'm no good at the medical stuff. All I know is that she amazed the doc. She got amazingly well. Something to do with the cells, the cell count. I don't know. Do not underestimate the power of positive thinking. But anyway, I've been on here for nearly 3 hours, and thank you for those who've, it's nice to see that there's been some, I've got something off my chest anyway. And thank you for listening. It really means a lot to me. It means a lot. I just wish that people would, I'm going to just finish off reading your comments. The better you take care of yourself, the less powerful they will feel. The thing is, though, I'm doing that on a daily basis, though. I think I've tired myself up from talking. The better you take care of yourself, I know, the less powerful they will feel. I've been doing that all this time, though. It's just draining dealing with unpleasant people. It's a fight for survival. It's a fight. It's a fight for your confidence and survival. Medicine causes a lot of delusion in people. Yes, it often isn't even what the doctors say it is. This is also addressed by Mark Tassi, who is a man I consider to be of great truth. Yes. Yeah, well, this is just it. I found that medication often made me feel worse after my mother died. I tried it like sweets in a sweet shop, and it made me feel worse. I've taken on board what Critical Mass said about taking vitamins, and that's good for someone who's a targeted individual. I still haven't tried the flush niacin yet, but healthy stuff, the natural stuff. I wish I'd focused on that with my mother, because I feel I don't want to talk about it because it will, I'll get angry and upset. But they murder people, all that poison, that those chemicals, chemotherapy. I'm not a medical person, so I can't really you know, but as John Patterson said, when it comes to mental health, you've got to get to the root of the problem. If you think about it, cancer, I think it was caused by trauma and stress in my mother because she lost her memory at first. She thought she'd phoned me and she rang my sister, eldest sister, who she hadn't spoken to for my eldest sister didn't speak to her for a year. And then my mother didn't know who she was. She was taken to the hospital. Both my sisters were there. I didn't see her in this state. But apparently she didn't know which knee she'd had an operation on. She forgot who she was. That's also happened to her when she went to South Africa to meet her biological parents. She forgot who she was in the hotel. She went down to the reception and said, and she said it was embarrassing. She just sort of thought, "Oh my gosh, who am I?" She went back to her room because so stress that is really, really intense can do terrible things to you. It can cause disease. It's demonic. So yeah, my mother's memory did come back, obviously, when my mother met her birth parents in 1998. And also, you've got to factor in, I mean, I do believe in demonic strongholds. The Freemasons love all of that. But also, my blood grandmother could read tea leaves. And, as I said, I've been into some dodgy things that, I think we all have, but, don't underestimate it because tea leaves, it sounds like a load of rubbish, but it's not. It's like a Ouija board. That it's equal to that. She saw that this woman was going to have a baby boy and that it would die, and that's exactly what happened. And that's why she stopped reading tea leaves after that. So do not underestimate the power of the unknown, because you do not know. And it's the same with what these evil people, these elitists are doing. We all have to pray and speak the truth. Sorry, there's a fly on the screen. Oh well, anyway. But anyway, I call it that as well, a plandemic. Yes, I call it a plandemic as well. I've called it a scamdemic, but plandemic is more apt, isn't it? As long as you've got it off your chest, that's all that matters. Yeah. Well, it's good to talk, as Bob Hoskins said. Yeah. Eh, yeah. Well, I know I've been speaking for about it's coming up to 3 hours, and I really wanted to speak for half an hour, but I know I repeat myself a lot. But you know why I'm repeating myself? It's not just to have a moan. Well, a lot of it is to do with having a moan, but I don't want to just moan, because anybody could do that. It's frustration, but it's also the fact that this is never going to end. Ugh, I know I'm talking about my personal problems here, but it's been nearly 3 hours, so I can understand if nobody wants to hear my problems. But to be perfectly honest with you, I'd like to hear someone else's moan about the same sort of thing, because I don't think people do speak out enough. That's why I feel like I'm alone in this, because people don't talk about their mental health. They think they do, but they don't, and they don't talk. People, well, the British culture, the people moan, but nothing gets resolved for whatever reason. There's a lot of narcissism, but I know I'm saying this is just a British thing, but it's not just a British thing, but it seems to be. When I look at my favourite British comedies, I'm exactly like those characters. In fact, I've been called Basil Fawlty, but I think I'm probably more of a Victor Meldrew. But all these comedies, they're my favourite, and it's a lot of it is to do with moaning and rudeness. I've said one of the hotels I was in, I think I'll say which hotel, the Cavendish Hotel. It used to be like apparently it used to be like the Grand. I've likened it to being like Fawlty Towers when this awful manageress was. I read up not just from my experience. I looked at other people's reviews, and I'm not joking. Someone said something about a mouse. It was like Fawlty Towers when you read the reviews. I don't want this mouse. What do you want me to do with this mouse? And you know, all the normal moans and groans that you get in a hotel. I mean, this horrible manageress threatened me with the police. She screamed and shouted at me for no reason. She did it with other guests as well. And it was, God, some of these hotels are horrendous. It really was like Fawlty Towers, eat your heart out. But if you look at the photos and the reviews and the experiences, because before Britannia took over the Cavendish Hotel, it was a nice hotel. In 2016, my partner and I went there, and there was a sauna and steam room. Now you can only open the windows so far because of health and safety. It was like that in supported accommodation. Health and safety say we have to lock the windows. So I bought a drill to undo it because it was a nice Victorian what do you call it, sash window. You know, those old-fashioned windows that you can open like that. They locked it so I could only open it that far. Beachy Head is literally right up the road. I was close to it, I was off the seafront. It's just a walk up there. And that's how I ended up there, intoxicated. And the support worker, what the fuck were you doing up on Beachy Head drunk? I didn't say anything. I think I was just so stunned. Because my mother and I are like living in this Victorian sort of, apparently it's called the social reform in the Victorian days. Peter Thorley from Matthew 25, he said to me, he works with the homeless people. He said to me, there's no reason why they couldn't help you, Bryony. It's got nothing to do. Funding is just an excuse. And I do remember thinking to myself, yeah, it is an excuse. It's as nonsensical as food banks for working people. You're better off on benefits. It's nuts. It's completely sick and fucked. It really, I'm sorry, I don't swear to people, but because I've been feeling closer and closer and closer to killing myself, to literally getting in a taxi. I mean, I was living on the seafront in both temporary and supported accommodation, going out of my mind, harassed, bullied, neglected. This is adult social care and all this. They want you to take drugs. Technically speaking, I should be lying in a ditch. I had a video, a Lindsay DePaul video from the early 90s called Taking Control. It was designed for women. I don't know if you know who Lindsay DePaul is. I didn't know she was a pop star when I was given the video. But it was from the early 90s, and she's teaching you self-defense. And whoever it was who gave the video to my mother when I was a child in the early 90s. They obviously thought Bryony's going to need it one day. She's so vulnerable. And yes, funny enough, I did. I've had domestic abuse and I have had attempted rape. And during the attempted rape, I felt like I was in a reconstruction of Crime Watch. For anyone who doesn't know, that was a BBC programme. You know, where the woman says, oh, he was on top of me and I had to just block it out. He was going to rape me and I had to just block it out and pretend it wasn't happening. Disassociation. Same happened to me. The late, great Lindsay DePaul, I have her to thank because I used that horrible method, you know, grab it, squeeze, twist, pull. Yeah, nice. And I had to, in court, say all of this. The Crown prosecution, the people who cross-examination wanted to suggest that I put my hand down his trousers, and he said that I was doing it to please him. But even PC Dixon was listening, you know. There was one point when I said, "What can I do for you?" to the man that I later went out with who abused me, who I met in a comedy club. And PC Dixon said you, because the Crown the cross-examination again wanted to suggest something by me saying, "What can I do for you?" The thing is, right, the video link up where I'd given evidence. God, sorry, this is what happened. Most women can't talk about. Most women don't report rape, let alone talk about it. My mum and I could laugh about being touched up as children, because before you think, oh, attack me for saying that, when I say laugh about, I mean, I've been, you know, I've been exposed to, you know, a lot of women have. There's nothing unusual about that. You know, we've had a hand up the skirt and everything. That's what I mean. We weren't sexually abused as children. My mother and I had to have sort of like develop a sense of humor in order to cope. My mother had, like me, a weird sense of humor, and it's a coping mechanism, and that resilience helps you to speak out. I think this is why a woman whose husband works for The Guardian, she said, one day you'll be helping Bryony, Bryony. And I said, yeah, I don't mean this in a big-headed way, but that's because, you know, people don't speak out. I'm cross with women who, I'm just as cross with women who don't speak about rape as I am cross with those who cry rape. And thankfully, those who cry rape are given the same level of, you know, it's treated as much a crime as a person who actually rapes someone. But I'm cross with women who don't speak out about rape, because it's going to happen to someone else. You know what? I said, I just lost my mother. No, I hadn't just lost my mother. It was about 8 months after I'd lost my mother and 2 months after I'd taken a near fatal overdose. And I said, yeah, take everything, take what you want, take it. Take these clothes, take them, put them in a bag, do what you got to do. Do what you got to do to me, stick whatever you've got to stick, do it, get it over with. They took me to the Saturn Centre, Rape Victim Centre. I was told my partner this, and he reckons Saturn might have something to do with something occultic. Wouldn't surprise me, everything does. The Saturn Rape Victim Centre, because Saturn is very occultic, that is. They did all the, take the, swab and all that. Yeah, do all that. And I'm proud of myself. I pat myself on the back, put the guy 10 years on a sex offenders register and 2 years in prison. Do you know what? Do you know what? And I want to make a point here to Sussex Police and to anyone else. That was the only time you guys helped me. But what you lot did to me was worse than that. And you should all get 25 years each malfeasance of office in prison. Because by common law, that is what you should be getting. You are meant to be public servants. You are meant to be there to protect the public. You added to my trauma. What you did to me was worse than rape. Do you know what? When I was on the video link at Hove Crown Court, I think it was in 2011, during the video link up, I think it was during the video link up, I did so much talking that I was cringing in the court, doing what I'm doing now. But what I'm doing now, I'm talking about something relevant. In the court, I was talking and talking and talking to the point where I wasn't talking about things to do with the actual case. Because I had been neglected by adult social care, the mental health services who've done nothing for me, nothing to this day, but add to my trauma. And I'm proud of myself because there are so many women out there who to this day do not report rape, right? Okay? And I did. Because for one thing, I don't want it to happen to someone else. Of course, I was doing it for myself, for justice, but I don't want it to happen to someone else. So, because there was a point, it was like a reconstruction. I remember taking a barbell, and I thought, and I thought, hang on a minute, and I know exactly what my mother meant. And I've got to be careful what I say, because women naturally pick up an object. And this is how they get done for manslaughter. Because I was trying to get this creep off me. And this is what the female police officer said to me. It goes back to caveman times when women would use an object because that's their coping mechanism, because women are not as strong as men. I was getting so exhausted trying to get him off me that it felt like a Crime Watch reconstruction. It felt like, when those women used to say in those reconstructions, I had to block it out because I knew he was going to rape me, and I thought he's going to do it. He's going to fully rape me. And then I suddenly got the strength. It's called fight or flight. But I have Lindsay DePaul to thank. But I'll tell you something. I was cringing in that court, and I've laughed to people about it. Obviously, I can laugh about it now, but I heard my voice on the video link up, and I thought, oh, for goodness sake, get to the point. This is how I felt about myself. So I don't like hearing my own voice, and yet here I am I've been on here for 3 hours now doing a live stream, talking. But I want to get it. I want to get this off my chest, and probably somewhere down the line, I will repeat this again and again and again and again. Trauma apparently makes you repeat things anyway, but I'm just excuse my French. I'm just pissed off. But but the point I'm making is I didn't need help with attempted rape and going to court. I did that on my own. Homeworks weren't there. Nobody was there. What I did need help with was my mental health. My hoarding and my clutter and all of this to this day is being discriminated and exploited and a breach of GDP and you name it. So that is what is making my blood boil. Because even now, there will be people on Facebook who are in the community who support John Alexander Patterson, and they will be saying the same old thing of, oh, well, there are lots of people out there suffering, and you just got to. I don't want to hear this ever again, but not that anyone on Facebook has said this, thankfully, but there will be people who will talk about leaving things in the past. And you just think, oh, please don't let that person be a covert narcissist, not like that horrible manageress at the Citrus Hotel. Because when she said to me, I spent 2 hours with her, and she said, have you thought about maybe leaving things in the past? And I just thought, oh. But I was still polite to her. And she's mentioned her Angel's Facebook page. You see, this is where there was a red flag. And thanks to her, she turned out to be in on all the. She helped cause what was a orchestrated set of extremely traumatic events. So, as I said in the review, maybe she should keep her Angel's Facebook page for the kind of clientele that she would prefer, who like to put their dirty shoes on the furniture and threaten vulnerable guests. Yeah, because the police didn't want to know, did they, Rika? So, yeah, anyway, that was a hotel that turned me and many people away, homeless people, and the newspapers got involved. But Bryony's mouth is too big. We got to shut it up. No, we haven't. No, we haven't. And, well, anyway, it's been 3 hours and I've had a good old vent. And thank you very much for those of you who are genuinely on my side. But it's not about sides, it's about what's right. It's about showing each other compassion. And now it's nearly 1 o'clock in the morning. So what I don't want to happen is for someone to say, oh, you've kept me awake now. So I don't care though. I think it's about time they realise I'm not going to be a doormat. That they can slam the door, they can come in and moan about me. I'm a targeted individual. Who cares? Sorry. I've started to feel a bit. Rapists want a reaction more than they want anything else. Don't give to them if you can help it. No, I never reacted to the rapists. I was just doing what Lindsay DePaul taught in the video that I was given as a child, which is because it's specifically for women. Although ironically, Lindsay DePaul made that video after she had been dragged out of her car in a very frightening attack in, I believe, 1989 or 1990. She was dragged out by her hair by a deranged woman, dragged out of her car at Trafalgar Square. So, and as we all know, women can be yeah, the woman that I thought was going to kill me here. This is meant to be a place just for women, but they bring men in here as well. But women can be far more violent, I know from experience. I think men can, whilst men are supposed to be stronger, women are more scary. But no, that video that Lindsay DePaul made, it was about if a man attacks you, or anybody, but specifically a man on a woman, it's about getting out of the situation. That's why I've now got a panic alarm. My partner and I, we had an idiot's. Eastbourne is known for these damn cyclists on the pavement, and that goes against the highway code. Again, people are ignorant, particularly in Eastbourne. And this northern guy went to attack us. But this is despite the fact that in the Herald paper, a 3-year-old got hit by a hit-and-run cyclist on the promenade and was bruised and injured. It's meant to be illegal to cycle, not just on the promenade, but also on pavements, which is against the highway code. So I escalated my complaints to Eastbourne Borough Council with that. Do you know what? This town is going to be the death of me. But no, anyway, so in answer to your question, rapists want a reaction. Yeah, well, no, as I said, I was just trying to get out of this situation, which is why when I had the barbell, the weights thing in my hand, I had to stop myself, because I thought if I whack him over the head, it's amazing what you think in those few seconds of fight or flight. How do I get this person off me? Because I was like, I've got to get this. He's stronger than me. And I mean, I had bruises on me and everything. He was drunk as well, so his weight was heavy on top of me. So I thought, because I was trying to get him off me. I was pulling his, anyway, it's not nice, pulling his hair and trying to get him off me. And I thought, God, no. It's amazing. You think, oh my gosh, I could kill him with this. If I whack him over the head, it's amazing what you think very quickly in fight or flight. Because as human beings, we are designed for survival. And you just think of that EastEnders episode where, which EastEnders episode are you talking about? You're thinking there could be several. I'm talking about the one where Thingy from Spandau Ballet whacked her over the head, and Anyway, should we just finish on a nice note? Yeah, I've been on here for over 3 hours now, talking. But on a serious note, though, it's very important to make the point that I did not need help with the attempted rape and going to court with that. Most women can't deal with it. They can't even report rape. I needed help with my mental health, and to this day, it has been a quarter of a century that I have been begging for help. I'd gone to see a child psychologist when I was a teenager at school. I was 14. And when I was 15, my GP said, well, I'm sending her to these people. Why is no one helping her? He said that to me, to my mother, in front of me. As I said, it was a housing officer from Eastbourne Borough Council that came to my mother's house in 2005 and turned to my mother and said, what would happen to Bryony if she lived on her own? And my mother said, I think she'd just slump into a corner and give up. And I was already suffering from acute chronic depression that my GP had already diagnosed when I was 15, and he said, here's a basic tick boxing list. Sussex Police dragged me into the psychiatric unit at the start of 2019. Before doing that, they dragged me into St Mary's House. They wanted to suggest I suffer from psychosis because I put up a protest. And you should have seen my lead practitioner, who could not look me in the eye, Rian. She was looking down like this. She looked so uncomfortable. But all the rolling of the eyes and the huffing and the puffing and all the, I've had it all. I have seen it all, you name it. I could even tell you a funny story about this guy who was so busy chewing on a pen. When my partner and I, before things got so bad, before I had stitches where I'd stabbed myself through the arm, before Darren had stitches to his hands, before he had been signed off sick and he can't tell his family about it. I didn't go to his sister's wedding. I haven't been to my sister's wedding. I've never been to any wedding in my whole fucking life. Excuse my French. Sorry, I'm swearing now because I'm really, really at the end of it. That's why I'm sharing more than I ever have before, because I actually want my father to see this, but he's not responded on Facebook. He wants to think that my mother is responsible for the violence, and yet it's 3 against 1. It was my mother and my sisters saying about the violence. I have had enough of violence and bullying. I've had it in my home. I've had it from the police. I've had it from everyone. And I really am at the end of it. I really am. My mental health has deteriorated. That was what I needed help with. Most women do not report rape. I've been accused of being a benefit fraud. I've been accused of not telling the truth by people who do nothing but lie. Nothing but lie. My God, people don't lie about the things that I talk about. Do I actually look like someone who's enjoying this? I'd have to be a right, to be enjoying this. A real masochist who would be enjoying all of this. I've gone through serious personality changes. Been told by a locum I need trauma-based therapy, that me and my sister both need it because of what we grew up experiencing in the home. But I went round telling people that I had a blessed childhood. An attention seeker doesn't go around telling people that they've had a blessed childhood. I did have a blessed childhood. It was the locum who told me going to Disney World, Walt Disney World, and having these lovely holidays abroad ain't going to cover up the trauma from your early years. And this is where people, you can call it MK Ultra, you can call it what you like. I call it being exploited. These people who were supposed to help me, these narcissists, they've just trafficked me through the system. They've kicked me from property to property to property. And my housing officer, who cried for me fake tears, is gone all cold on me today. Despite the fact that this time last night, I was crying my eyes out, thinking I'm going to jump off Beachy Head. I have held my own. I have fought it out with the Eastbourne Borough Council, and they're saying if you don't take this, I was in one of the hotels I was in, trying to keep away from the property that I didn't feel safe in. I was paying out. This was at the start of the pandemic in April. £20 a night at Palm Court Hotel. £20 every night. Right, whatever funds I've got, I've just fork out £20 a night. There was a man saying, "Well, at least you've got a property to go back to." I said, "I don't feel safe there." He didn't understand. This guy, he's friends with I met some very interesting people. One of the guys, he used to be friends with Nicholas Lyndhurst, which is quite funny because it was around the same time that my father was serving David Jason back in the early 80s. This guy, he's friends with one of the group from the Who. I've forgotten what his name is, but he said he's a lovely man, and his wife, despite being very rich, his wife likes shopping in charity shops, which is what I like doing. Even if I was rich, I'd shop in charity shops. But this guy said his mum was very ill and dying, and his relationship with his wife is broken up, and he had nowhere to go. And he was told by police officers, and don't call me racist. I don't like these words racist and homophobic because they're overused. No one's ever called me racist or homophobic, but I don't like these words. This is, because people in this country you can't even say blackboard anymore. You can't ask for a white coffee or a black coffee. It's bullshit. Anyway, so this police officer apparently said, if you say that if you've got a family, if you're from Afghanistan and you've come over here with a whole family, they'll put you up straight away. But you're born in this country now. I really wish my mother had stayed at sea. She wanted to settle. She came over here because of my father. She met my father at sea. My father was 11, 12 years younger, and they met in the early 70s, and they got married very quickly, and I'm a result of that. And I have to carry that pain around with me. That's why I have problems with relationships. It's very painful. It's the intensity and everything. But I wasn't invited to my partner's sister's wedding. I was threatened with being floored by this psycho nurse because through all the pain and the frustration and what I've already been put through and no help from anyone, I grabbed my hospital curtain, bearing in mind that the police had dragged me in there. I ripped the whole thing off, the whole bed curtain, and all the staff came out. Only one of the nurses, who, funnily enough, she knew the evil Irish matron who bullied me when I did care work, and she said, "Oh yeah, I know, she was a bitch." That nice nurse came out and she said, "Bryony, this isn't like you." The other nurse came up to me, she said, "I'll floor you." She said, "Don't you dare." I didn't even do anything. I said, "I wasn't going to hit anyone." And the nurse that threatened to floor me. This is while my partner's at his sister's wedding and I'm missing out. This same nurse had apparently gone up to another patient who was crying after the death. She'd come back from a funeral and she went in and said, "What are you doing in here?" This is what they're like. They got a real bedside manner. So to this day, I've never been to a wedding. I've said I'm not even going to have a funeral. If they couldn't be there for me while I'm alive, why would I want them bloody there when I'm dead? Why would you fork out $2,000 for a few minutes of people talking up some bullshit, saying, "Oh, she was wonderful. Yeah, she this and she." No. You don't want to hear it now. You don't want, just forget about it. I'm not having a funeral. Watch this. You know, if anything happens to me, I want my father to see this. And then my godmother then they can all sit round with their mouth masks on. Because I bloody well mean it. I would really, right this minute, like to be lying on a bed. I'm sorry if this upsets anybody, but I would like to be lying on a bed dying of cancer. Sorry, I'll reword that. Nursed to death. I know I'm not well, so excuse me for saying this. But I'm not well because not one, excuse my French, bugger is bothering to do bugger all for me. And that's what I'm getting off my chest. I've been on here for 3.5 hours and I'm just sick of it. I am struggling to wash myself and clean my teeth, and I'm expected to do the work of a social worker that I've been fighting for. Every time I've fought to get one, I've been fobbed off. They don't do anything. All this paperwork to fill out just to find out what lies they've been writing about me, and I haven't even looked after myself. And this note from Emma. Hello, Bryony. Just a note to say, I'm here for you and on your side, your fellow roommate on the bed opposite you. She said, and I would like to see her again. She said, they do nothing in the psychiatric unit. No, because it's being used as a prison to assassinate people like Carol Woods and John Patterson. Carol Woods, a social worker whistleblower, forcibly injected, force medicated for exposing child abuse and corruption. Yeah. So there are no people watching this now, I can see. So, but it has been 3.5 hours, and I suppose I'm boring people now. But anyway, sod it. Excuse my French. I've said a lot of French words this evening, and sorry, but you know, I because I never swear at people, and because I take so much BS. And that is why I want to kill myself. That is why I want to get in a taxi and go and jump off Beachy Head tomorrow. Thanks, Robert. And you told me, Robert, that a lot of people call you names. A lot of people call you names. A lot of people call you names, do they? Your tears were fake. You are part of that corruption. You're complicit. You've done nothing about the people here. You've done nothing about the illegal activity here, my safety, the fact that I've been attacked, just the fact that I get little presents left outside my door, like cigarette butts. It's £100 fine, yeah, if someone is caught smoking in the property. This place could be closed down, legally speaking. That landlord, he could be. When I was in supported accommodation, being exploited, trafficking place, I found one of the tenants had left a lit cigarette on the couch. That's when the smoking ban had just come into place in 2007, I think it was, 2007, 2008. And that support worker who said to me, what the fuck were you doing up on Beachy Head drunk? he got funny with me, saying, "You better let me know because Andy could have his place closed down, heavily fined, and have it closed down." This same little piece of crap that that he's proven himself to be, because I really am struggling to hide my anger, because he really is a little. They are creeps. I had seen they used to cook a meal for us at 6 o'clock in the evening and lock the kitchen. My God, they really do try to make people as backwards as possible. Um, he one time was smoking whilst cooking. He had the frying pan and the cigarette. And as my friend Robert said to me at the time, my careers advisor friend, he's the one who got me this article, by the way. My college careers advisor friend. Oh, that's nice. A bit of ash, bit of cigarette ash in your bangers and mash. Yeah. So even before the smoking ban, hello, health and safety, just as ridiculous as locking the window so that you can only open it that far. And yet Beachy Head was right up the road. I tried to look for somewhere to hang myself. I've tried to hang myself in these places. I've gone to my mother's resting place with what do you call it? Charcoal, and trying to suffocate myself with inhaling the charcoal. I'm carrying so much pain. I am hiding it with smiles that are forced. Well, they're not all forced, but I'm hiding my pain. I'm really, really hiding it. And that is why I'm getting so angry and frustrated. Because no one does anything about anything. As Annette Crosby said in One Foot in the Grave, as my mother said, people do nothing about anything in this country. People moan, but no one's doing anything. So anyone out there, rather than getting entertainment from these videos, I feel like it's just a waste of time. Because this world will miss my chromosome. I will say that much. But, I can't do this on my own. I really can't do it on my own. I've been Superwoman for so long. My mother's friend Patsy said, "You can't be Superwoman." I've been Superwoman. It doesn't matter if the world is watching this. What does the world do? Go along with it. Copy. Let's wear a face mask. Oh God, no, I'd rather kill myself. Thanks very much. Anyway, I'm signing off for now. So, if there's anything that anyone wants to say, it's been nearly 3 hours, nearly 40 minutes, 3 hours, 40 minutes. Fed up with it. Okay, thanks for watching anyway. But as I said, if you want to say something that's am I still running? So I'm trying to end this. Okay, I'm signing off now.